That's actually what I was hoping would happen.
Listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
If you ask my son what any animal says now, he will do that, and
He can do that.
Yeah, and he gets the super proud grin on his face because he can make that
How do you make that like? How do you do that?
Has he talked to our
Spivey Realty Group's goal is to make buying, selling, investing, and renting real estate.
True, it is actually that is Spivey Realty Group's goal.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well said, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you,
Apparently,
Justin. So
the
true,
settings got changed.
I don't know how you make. Is that your little? What is it? Is it the uvula in the back of your tongue? Is that what's jiggling?
How do you make it do that?
I don't know. No, it's got to be. I don't know. It's not my tongue.
It sounds different when I do it.
Yes. Sorry. Anyway,
this was a very professional start to a show.
It was.
Yeah.
As people know, that is what we are known for: is very professional shows,
yes,
and especially very professional starts to shows.
Yes. It's probably what we're best known for.
Yes.
Number one, being ultra professional.
Yeah.
Number two, taking number twos.
Or being number two.
Number two to who?
Well, remember, our new catchphrase, according to my sister, is "We're almost ready to be good."
We're almost ready. Well, we did.
Yeah.
That was from last week's or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. It's a good catchphrase for us.
It is.
Except that I don't know how close we actually like. Almost. The word "almost" is doing a lot of work there.
Well, we have that new portable recording device.
We do, which
I feel
will
like
have
that
at the Jamboree on Friday, hopefully.
Ooh.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna be out
Are we
of town.
doing a show next week, or are we just gonna have live updates from the Jamboree?
So here's the plan.
Here's the plan.
This week,
Stan.
we're doing our full
usual
football preview.
Football preview,
which I think typically we probably would have done next week on the week of the Jamboree because we could kind of talk about what happened at the Jamborees. Aberdeen will be in Ording for a Jamboree, and then Hoquiam, Elma, and Monty will all be at the Montesano Jamboree. So I'll get a chance to see those three schools, hopefully. And then hopefully we'll be able to get some updates from what happened with Aberdeen as well. But you two are going to be out of town next week.
Yes.
So it's going to be me with the recording device at the Jambo. And I'm going to try my best to catch as many coaches and players as I can.
Sweet.
And just do like a bunch of quick interviews. And hopefully that will help serve as a different type of football preview where we talk to people who our listeners might actually like to hear from.
What?
The athletes and the coaches.
That's not how we usually treat our listeners.
No, it's not.
Stop. Come on. Why are you giving our listeners what they want? After all these years, Justin.
There's equally as much of a chance that I will completely strike out in being able to talk to anybody.
I say
it would be a pretty entertaining show if it was just Justin.
I say
unsuccessfully trying to get people to talk to him.
That'd be good.
That'd be funny.
I say you say screw you, listeners, and instead somebody who's also going to be at the Jambo.
Yeah.
Is Ian Cope, our buddy. So you can talk to them. Nobody wants to hear him talk either.
I will 100%.
Shots fired.
When Jambo games are over and I get a chance to track down as many coaches and players as I can, I will absolutely catch up with Ian Cope and see what he thought about what was going on. Because, number one, I like to mess with the listeners and they won't want to hear what he has to say.
Exactly.
And number two, he's going to have a lot of smart stuff to say because he's Ian.
Yeah, and is he PA? I think he's PA announcing for the Jambo.
Oh, he's PA. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he is the voice of Grace Harbor football.
The voice of Grace Harbor
sports, right?
Sports.
Oh, okay.
I just called it sports. He doesn't do basketball as much anymore, but I still give him the title or the title.
Well, football is sort of like I was explaining.
Football is his jam.
Football is the jam. So as I was explaining, it's not about football being a better sport. It's not at all. So
I was wondering why do I look haunted right now? There was a cobweb.
You look haunting. What I was saying is I had to explain to Angel.
Yeah.
Because football's not my favorite sport. Basketball is my favorite sport. Basketball is my favorite high school sport. I would choose to watch high school basketball over high school football if it's just strictly on a sports standpoint.
Dude,
Daniel, I know you're a baseball guy, but you love basketball and football too.
Yeah. I never thought about that before, but it totally makes sense because you're a Tar Heels basketball. That's your life.
Sure.
So, of course, basketball is your favorite sport. And yet, for some reason,
basketball is my favorite sport.
The fact that
I like the way they dribble up and down the court.
The fact that you named your kid Peyton after Peyton Manning and, Did you?
Well, I didn't intentionally name him after Peyton Manning.
Okay.
But I thought at that time, I was like, I really like the name Peyton. It may have been influenced by Peyton Manning.
Okay.
I acknowledge that.
Okay. But you weren't consciously thinking, I'm going to name my son Peyton after the Manning boy.
No, but that does sound like me.
Yeah. I nailed the accent.
No, but what I was saying is, there's something about high school football that's special, and it's the community that's special. It's the one high school sports season that gets the most buy-in from other people in the community. It's the one that people show up for Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
So it's not like... I do love high school football, and I love the actual game, but it's not like I love high school football more than I love softball or basketball or any of these other games. It's exciting and special to me because of how many other members of the community are involved.
That is so true because, even as my kid starts to get older, I'm more worried that he'll play football instead of, wanting to encourage it. And yet, I will always try and be involved as a broadcaster and as a community member in high school football because you're right. It brings the community together more so even than basketball. I was thinking, it's the band, cheerleaders. And I was like, wait a second. The band and cheerleaders are also at basketball. But alumni, more of them. There's just the team's bigger, so there's more parents involved. There's more people who come. Yeah, so it's...
I think the team being bigger is a pretty significant contributor also because you get so many more people that were involved in when they were in high school.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just more. It's way easier or there's way more opportunity to be a second string tight end than there is to be a bench player in basketball.
And we all know that people don't actually have to be athletically gifted to play football. They just have to go and put on pads and run into each other.
It's about the want to, Daniel.
It's about the want to.
The other thing though is
that was half tongue in cheek, but also my dad would always tell me that, hey, you and your brother shouldn't play football like I did because you have hand-eye coordination.
I think the other thing is the advantage that football has, outside of the fact that literally it just is the most popular sport in America.
Yeah.
It's always pretty much always on the same night. It's Friday night.
Yep.
And every other
once
sport
a week. You only have to get to it once a week.
Yeah, and every other sport is kind of random nights, mostly Tuesdays and Thursdays or Mondays and Wednesdays. But you get a bigger student section at football games, I think, because of the community, because it's a special event that happens once a week.
Right. Normally, I wouldn't cut you off as quickly as this because normally it's just Francis spouting off stupid Francis stuff in the comments. But N2 Media is watching us right now, and he says high school football is better than high school basketball. Jumping into the conversation.
You know what? And I agree with Nick, even though I like basketball better as a sport, and I love high school basketball.
Yeah,
I love the community aspect of high school football. So.
I will say another thing, having played football, finally, it took me a long time to play football, but the camaraderie that football breeds is different than any other. Well, rugby might be up there. There's something about if you don't
collision sports.
Yeah, there's something about but especially with football with blocking, I think makes it maybe even more so than rugby. There's something about if you don't do your job, one of your buddies could get real messed up.
Yeah.
that it just brings a different type of camaraderie and closeness. Like when I played for the Bearcats, the level of play and the amount of time we spent together wasn't anything close to high school football. And yet I became so close with those guys in such a short amount of time because if you didn't have that trust, then you were just host.
Yeah. Physically and in other ways.
Emotionally,
emotionally,
grammatically,
spiritually,
ecumenically.
What?
I don't know.
You made that up.
Yeah, I did.
All right, so let's do this. Andrew, go ahead and create the Zoom link for our guest, and then we'll just kind of talk about what we're going to do for the show today. So we are doing our high school football preview. We are going to talk about Hoquiam, Elma, Aberdeen, Montesano. 3 of those teams make up 3/5 of the Evergreen 1A League.
Yep.
The new Evergreen 1A League has said goodbye to Eatonville. And
thank goodness.
Welcomes
get Schmeatonville out of here.
All right. Welcomes in Rochester. So there's 2 teams, Tenino and Rochester, in this league that we don't know a ton about. Like we saw Tenino last year.
Well, we know Tenino.
We've
known
them.
Tenino for a long time.
So, and this is one thing I'm excited to ask our guest about. Tenino's getting like a little bit of momentum that people think they might be good this year. Why? And I'm curious to ask him why. Because I watched them one time last year and they lost 42-0, and I think they went 2-8. But they are also they had a new coach, you know, and there's a growing period. So we're gonna bring in Dylan Wilhelm from the Daily Chronicle, and he's gonna help us.
N2 says N2 says only 9 football games a season. Most basketball teams have 22 games now.
Yeah.
Although playoff high school basketball is better. I gotta say, maybe it's just the nostalgia for me and how much I've been able to be more involved with playoff basketball.
Yeah.
But I'm with it for that.
I love playoff basketball.
Playoff high school basketball is intense and
even
insane.
with all the frustration that the terrible
the
system
WIA tries to screw it up every year, but you know what? The kids just keep making it awesome. And the special moments I've been a part of, the heartbreaking moments I've been a part of, like you can find any emotion on the spectrum, and I've had it with high school basketball. Meanwhile, with high school football, half the time I'm just freezing my cojones off and out in the rain trying to call a game in some stupid stadium like up in Kings where it's like 10 degrees and I'm watching a private school beat up on Sorry.
Well, it's not.
That's also in basketball.
It couldn't have been
too.
much worse than when I broadcasted that game
Are you guys
from
ready for
Riverside.
Dylan?
Yes.
Yeah, we're
okay.
ready.
So
hang on here.
I'm just.
as soon as you're ready to bring Dylan in on the Zoom, we're good.
Of course, we're ready for Dylan because I was just spouting nonsense until we had him on the phone. There he is.
Hey, Dylan, how's it going?
How are we doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us good?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So we're excited to kind of get into a little bit of what the Evergreen 1A League is going to look like. You know, obviously, as you know, we said goodbye to Eatonville, and we're bringing in Rochester, which means now in your coverage area, you have 2 of the 5 teams. We have 3. So we know Monty, Elma, Hoquiam a little bit, and we're hoping that you'll be able to shed some light on Tenino and Rochester for us. So I kind of wanted to start with Tenino because I know, new coaching staff last year, they had a very difficult summer leading into that season. Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Maybe we should give Dylan a chance to introduce himself.
Well, we did introduce him already. We said who he was.
Yeah, but Dylan, how long have you been the sports editor? And you're the sports editor of the Daily Chronicle, correct?
Yes, in Centralia, Rochester and Tenino, as you guys mentioned, are in our coverage area. I've been here about a year, been the editor for about 6 months when my editor left to take a position with Major League Baseball. So, yeah, just as excited for you guys as you guys for football, but also playoff basketball special, man. Being in Spokane Arena for those B basketball tournaments was really fun.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off there, Justin. I just
No,
realized
you're
that
good.
I wanted a little bit more backstory.
You know
on
what?
Dylan
That's
first.
great. We introduce him at the beginning. At the end of the interview, we'll make sure we give a chance to make sure we plug
Too smoothly.
everywhere that you want to find what Dylan does. They do good work over at the Chronicle, not only with the newspaper but also with their podcast News Dump, and they do Sports Dump podcast, which I've listened to. They do an excellent job. We will make sure at the end of the interview that we direct people where they can go to find Dylan's work. But I guess for starters, I've noticed if you look at the SB Live rankings, those were a coaches poll, I believe, and they had Tenino in the others receiving votes category in the top 10. So they weren't in the top 10, but they were like basically in the top 15. And I want to be fair to Tenino because, like I said, difficult year last year. I think they only won 2 games. They had a brand new coaching staff where their previous coach had left like after spring football. So they were really working from not much with very little time to prepare. So I do want to be fair to Tenino. But the game that I watched them, like they played against Montesano, and they did not look very good. They lost 42-0. And the player that stood out to me in that game was Cody Strawn, who was an excellent athlete. And also I watched him play at the Earl Barden game, and he looked great there as well. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what is it that you think about this Tenino team that really struggled last year and lost to, I imagine, was the best athlete on their team, Cody Strawn, who graduated. What is it about Tenino that you think is making them kind of gain momentum in the public idea?
I think it's the returning skill position players, guys like Jack Burkhart, who's getting attention from a lot of FCS schools up here. Austin Gagne, Mikey Vassar was first team all league last year. And you kind of mentioned the coaches have had a full off season to actually implement a practice plan and watch these guys develop over the course of, these last however many months. Darren Tinnerstedt was hired 16 days before camp started last year, I believe.
That's crazy.
That sounds right. Yeah.
It's unreal. But yeah, I was a little surprised, kind of like you two were, to see kind of Tenino getting some of this preseason hype. But once I started looking into it, they do have a lot of guys coming back. I think it'll all come down to, they'll have a sophomore quarterback. We can get into that some more. But I do think on the surface, just kind of the returning talent that they have taking that step forward that they're expected to take should result in a few more wins.
I am very curious actually about what they're going to do at quarterback, because Strawn last year played quarterback, but I don't think it was because he was a great quarterback. I think it was because he was the best athlete for them on the field. And I watched him play receiver at the All-State Earl Barden game, and he looked incredible. I would have thought if they had somebody else to play at QB and give him the opportunity to move to another skill spot, that might have helped him. So what is the plan for Tenino at quarterback? And I had heard also at one point that Gagne might be playing quarterback, but I wasn't sure what the plan was for them going forward there.
Yeah, Gagne got some snaps at QB last year. It wouldn't surprise me if he is the backup going into the year. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen, we have a sophomore named Mason Metcalf who has never played quarterback before. But Tinnerstedt has said that he has he's kind of approached this offseason with, I'm trying to think, something along the lines of a passion that he's never seen in his coaching career. And he spent a long time up at Capitol and Olympia.
He did.
So obviously that's a big what if, and there's a lot riding on the potential of that. But it is interesting to kind of see them go that route. It almost kind of feels like, apples to oranges, high school to NFL, but the Minnesota Vikings had JJ McCarthy not been hurt. It's like, well, you got the guys around you. Let's throw this young guy in and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure what to expect, to be honest, but it's gonna be fun to watch.
Well, especially when you have some of the names that you mentioned, some of those skill position guys are names that I recognize as well. And I was a little surprised because I've been hearing Gagne's name and Burkhart's name for so long that I just kind of assumed that they had graduated too.
I had to double check. I was like, there's no way these guys are still going.
Right.
But
yeah.
Enough.
I mean, they just need to bring Scow in, and they could have like the basketball trifecta playing football out there. But
Exactly.
No, I mean, Gagne. You mentioned Gagne.
Out transferred. I don't know if that's public, but
Oh, interesting. Do you know where he went?
Somewhere in Tacoma, I think.
Oh, okay. That is unfortunate. I'm kind of bummed about that.
Yeah, he was fun to watch on the basketball floor. That is for sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll probably have to follow up on that at some point when we get closer to basketball season. That is really disappointing. But you did mention Burkhart and Gagne, which are two guys I'm really familiar with from basketball. Both big, strong, athletic guys. What positions are those guys playing?
Burkhart was wide out last year, and Gagne got most of his work at running back, if I remember correctly, and then he obviously got some action, as kind of the receiving threat out of the backfield. I think Burkhart was their clear number one last year, if I remember, in somewhere around 500 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns. Just a classic outside threat, wide receiver one that, they liked to get Strawn kind of working off play action and get him kind of moving out of the pocket to find Burkhardt downfield. When they had success offensively, that's typically kind of what they ran through. It wouldn't surprise me to see that some more of that again this year, especially with the way their offensive rushing attack worked at times.
So we know some of those big names at skill position. From what you've seen so far, which I realize super limited, no games, no jamborees yet even, but do you feel like the coaching staff is hopeful that some of the younger guys in the trenches might be able to step up and make some good progress this year?
I do, from what I've seen. I'm sure every coach says this, but the guys look bigger. They made tremendous gains in the weight room, insert any school here, but and just having a full year together, I think is going to be really beneficial to them. We mentioned the skill guys. They have a couple of guys back on the D line as well. I think Miguel Espinoza had 4 or 5 sacks last year. Another guy I had written down, I can't find his name. Oh, Jerry Kahn had 5 sacks last year. So they have a couple guys back on kind of in the trenches as well that should also, take that step forward. But again, this is a lot of what ifs, and you're kind of banking on them taking that step and kind of upping their potential.
Yeah, and kind of as a parting shot on Tenino too, I want to be fair. Like I mentioned, they only won
Justin,
2 games.
I'm just going to throw this out there. You keep saying I want to be fair. We all know that you don't like Tenino. You keep saying I want to be fair.
I know you don't want to be fair.
I'm interested in
You're trying to be fair.
Dylan, if you tune in at any point during the season, he'll be like, I just don't like Tenino.
It's not true.
I am impartial to all of teams that I cover.
Yeah, so
we still have a true journalist here.
I just
want to
point out
all of that.
I want to point out that while like my impression of Tenino was the 2-win team, they did play Zilla within 2 points. Like it's not like they were completely uncompetitive. They had some really close games. They did win a few. And, as Dylan pointed out, like their coach was hired like 2 weeks before camp opened, and they were working from behind. So I don't want to make it seem like my impression of Tenino is they're just a trash program. I believe Tenino can be good, and I want to be fair to them in the process of trying to figure out like where all these teams slot in. Was there, before we move on to Rochester, was there anything else about Tenino that kind of from what you've seen that kind of stands out as important information to know?
I wouldn't say so. They do have, like you mentioned, Zilla. They're not playing as many East Side teams this year to start. They'll go to Rainier, if I believe, and they'll even play Adna. So they have a couple solid 2B teams on the schedule that, maybe if they can grab a couple non-league wins, that they won't go 2-8 this year. But I was kind of drinking the Tenino Kool-Aid a little bit last fall, and they kind of bit me. I actually had them as like a state dark horse, which clearly didn't work out. So I'm also kind of going into this fall kind of a little skeptical, but they do have more to work with, and I do expect it to be better than it was last season.
So the next big thing is Rochester. Like, it's not like it's a team we don't know, because they've played in Aberdeen's league for quite a while now. There's been some combo leagues and some other weird stuff that's happened.
Well, even before that, there was a league where Ilma, Aberdeen, Hoquiam, and Rochester were all in the same league too.
I'd like to go back to that.
I know that was a long time ago.
That was before Dylan was born.
Gosh, am I that old?
I'm kidding.
It was when I was in high school.
It was a long time ago.
I'm hoping Dylan's not.
Okay,
that
Daniel, you were in high school 18 years ago? 17 years ago? Anyway, we don't need to get into all that. It's not like Rochester is a complete unknown to us.
No, we know Rochester.
But Rochester, like, I think it's always been kind of hard to get a feel, because Rochester feels like they've been a bad program in like one of the toughest leagues in the state. Like Evergreen 2A with WF West and Tumwater at the top. You get random years in different sports where Aberdeen and Black Hills are great. But in football specifically, like it's been really hard. It's a hard go in the Evergreen 2A. So Rochester is not an unknown to us, but it does feel interesting to figure out like where they're going to slot in now that they're joining the 1A side of the Evergreen. So kind of like before we go into like specific players and stuff, what's your idea of how they compare with the other teams that we have here?
I'm more optimistic about Rochester going down, kind of like not just in football, but just the entire athletic department, because seeing how they've competed, even sports like softball where they still make state and compete well at the 2A level. Theoretically, they should be in line for a better season, especially when, you mentioned WF West Tumwater. AJ easily said it himself. He was like, you're basically fighting for third every single season.
Yeah.
Yep.
Barring some unforeseen circumstances with those two schools at the top. Obviously, he knows that coming into a league with Montesano and Elma and then Tenino being a league game again, it's still a very good 1A league, but just kind of coming down, they're very excited to have more of a fighter's chance, to put it bluntly, towards the top of the league.
Yeah, and I mean, just personally, I'm not an Aberdeen person, but Aberdeen should be in this league too. Like, the world would be a better place if this league also had Aberdeen in it. And if it was Aberdeen, Rochester, Tenino, Hoquiamani, Elma.
Oh, could you imagine the travel?
That would be perfect.
It would be so good.
It would be perfect. And instead, Aberdeen is still stuck in that league with Tumwater and Chehalis just going, well, here we are. And it sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming at this from a standpoint of like almost no knowledge of the roster, like basically at all.
Yeah.
What are your impressions of what are the most important things that Rochester needs to do, and who are the players that you're watching for there?
I'll answer that question with a question. Do you guys remember watching kind of the power tee at Tenino with Kerry Nagel?
Yeah, I hate it a lot.
You're going to hate Rochester this year. They are going to. I was writing some notes in preparation for this, and I was, writing down some rushing leaders, and I get to passing, and I literally put LOL. This team threw 13 passes last season. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball again.
Wait, how many passes?
LOL.
13 passes last season.
They had LOL passes last year.
No!
Yeah.
Oh,
I hate that offense, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I watched Tenino beat Montesano at Rottlefield 2 years ago with that offense.
Funny connection, actually. I believe it's Rob Bates, who was Kerry Nagel's OC at Tenino.
Oh.
Him and AJ Easley are cousins, because Easley has Tenino roots, and Bates is actually entering his second season on Rochester's staff as co-OC with Easley. So obviously this connection's all over the place, and they run a almost identical style. And I'm sure I never saw Tenino under Nagel, but I'm sure it's very similar. They're 6-7 deep at running back. They're just going to keep alternating dudes, and they're going to keep running the same stuff, and they're just going to try to wear you down. And in their wins last year at work, they averaged almost 500 yards per game in wins. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. But
I mean, the offense is like, it is what it is. It doesn't try to trick you. They basically have like one play, and they run it to a few different people, and you have to figure out which guy has the ball and go stop them. It is 100%. Can my players be disciplined to do the job that they have in front of them? And it's a great equalizer. Like when Tenino played Monty a couple years ago, and I thought Tenino was good, but like physically and athletically, Monty was better. Like the fact that Tenino ran that offense really changed the game.
Well, and
it sucked.
Having seen as much as I yell no and get super upset and that's going to be so boring to watch. When I was broadcasting Aberdeen playoff games, all I was doing was screaming at the field, run the dang ball. It's what you're good at. And so if you're good at it, don't go away from it just because you feel pressure of, what would be cool if we threw the ball.
Yeah.
No, when you're good at running it, that's what you do. Is it frustrating to watch sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah, and then every once in a while you have a freak athlete like Takari Hickel, and you just run all over everybody all year for a year.
Go Beavs.
So yeah, I mean,
not the Tenino ones.
For Rochester, I will assume, because I watched this coaching staff under Nagel take a Tenino program that was not very good and turn it into something that was competitive at the state level. Like, I'm not saying they were going to go win a state title, but they became one of like the top 10 teams in the state for a couple years. And so I would assume that, like, regardless of what the personnel situation is there that he's going to be able to figure something out to make his team competitive and relevant. So I'm on one hand excited to see it because I like watching District 4 teams and Evergreen 1A teams be good, and on the other hand also not excited to watch it because it's boring.
A little pain to take photos of because
It's so bad.
defense doesn't know who's getting the ball. I sure as heck don't know who's getting the ball. And then they just run into a pile of 12 dudes, and you're like, all right, I have 47 dog pile photos and maybe one celebration shot that's slightly out of focus. But
Honestly, dude, Dylan, I feel you so much. I worked at the Vidette and the Daily World, and I understand what it's like to not only be responsible for being the guy who writes the article, but also takes the photos. So the photos are kind of secondary, and you're going to have some games where you get back and you cut like 5 photos, and you give them to your layout guy, and you're like, sorry, this is what I have.
all we have, yeah.
As someone who takes photos of far less important things than high school sporting events, I usually take roughly 200 pictures when I go to an event, and I'm hoping for 5 good pictures.
Yeah,
So-
you need to take more like 600.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we just need to have my wife take more pictures of sporting events.
That's true. She's good at it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh gosh, I can't
We have
imagine.
our photographers tag along sometimes, and like, you know, for instance, for football after the first quarter, they'll come up to me and be like, "Hey, should we go try to hit the second half of another game?" And I was like, "Do you have enough photos?" And they're like, "Yeah, we already have like a dozen or more." And I was like, "Oh, no big deal, you know."
Well, those people only have to worry about one thing. Like, I mean, you have to
awesome.
tweet every score and then keep track of what's happening in the game, and you're like writing your article in your head before the game's over. Anyway, 3 people who are listening out there care about that.
Yeah.
So we don't need to talk
I'm
about it
fascinated by it. When just with your early preliminary view, with Rochester dropping down, are they instantly? I mean, all I have to go on really is Eatonville coming over to this league. Are they instantly like one of the teams that could take first in league this year? Could they compete with Monty since they're dropping down from a tougher classification?
I think so. I haven't seen Monty. I didn't get to see Monty in person last year. But I did get to see Elma face Centralia, and I know that's kind of the, you know, transitive property or whatever. That doesn't exactly, you know.
Oh, we
relate.
love transitive property.
Transitive
We
property
really-
is our jam.
All right, I'm glad you're understanding what I'm saying because I'm describing it super poorly. But I just having seen, you know, Elma and Tenino, I do think Rochester has more than enough ability to compete not only with those teams but even potentially with Monty. It might kind of be, you know, a Tumwater WF West situation where whoever wins that game more than likely is going to win league. So yeah, I think they can compete.
Honestly, I think that's probably not too far off. I think the Rochester Monty game could be the most important game in the Evergreen 1A this year. And it doesn't matter that you didn't see Monty play last year because they graduated like half of their team probably.
Well, they had like 8 graduating seniors that were like huge impact players.
Okay, so it wasn't half the team,
but it's
it was
lot.
It was like 8 two-way stars. Is what it felt like.
That's more than half of 11.
I mean,
Yeah, but not of a 50-man roster.
I mean, it is so fair. Like honestly, so fair. Monty lost so much, and I'm nervous. Monty guy.
Buy a shirt.
I'm nervous about what the season's going to be like, but I do know that like there's a core of players there that have a lot of varsity experience. They're bringing back a few guys that were all league, you know, some starters both ways, and I still think they're going to be really good. And I'm really not looking forward to them playing against that Rochester offense.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about some of the teams that we're more used to covering now that you're hopping a little bit more in depth into this league?
Yeah, I know Montesano, you know, again, kind of a 1A to 2A comparison. It's not exactly the same, but easily mention them in the same breath as kind of being the Tumwater and WF West of this league. Would you say they're kind of like that, where even though they do lose a lot, chances are they're going to just have, you know, a handful of guys step in and it's just going to be smooth sailing to fill those holes?
Yeah, absolutely. The Montesano people every now and then will be like, oh no, I'm super worried. And the rest of the league rolls their eyes like, okay, guy. until we beat you, we're not going to believe a word you say about how worried you are about the team because we just got beat 42-0 for the 5th year in a row. So we all think you're full of crap. And that's kind of how it is. Until you beat Montesano, you don't really have an argument in the conversation. So that's kind of what it is. Justin will now tell you about, we're super worried. We graduated all these guys.
I'm high on this Montesano team. Like, I think that Mason Rasmussen,
really good, really fast.
Gabe Pahala, and Felix Romero and Torrin Kreitz.
Gosh, I forgot all those kids were coming back.
They have a lot of return. Like, they lost so much. They lost a league MVP. They lost a defensive MVP. They lost the lineman of the year. They lost a whole bunch of all leaguers, a ton. They're also returning Nathan. Dowler, thank you. Who was a first-team All-League offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. They're returning a ton of players who are good and have a lot of good varsity experience. And I believe, like, this Montesano team should be like odds-on favorite. That if they lose the league, it would be really disappointing. I'm not sure if it's one of the Montesano teams that I would point to and say, like, you know, this is a team that's going to go to a state semifinal. I'm not sure if I would go that far. But I'm high on them. I think they're going to be good. They're going to return enough experience that they're going to be really competitive.
And one note that I would drop to you, too, as someone who's covered the 2A and the 1A league, is one of Aberdeen's best players. Definitely, I would say, would have been this year's best player and one of the best players last year, Marcus Hale. He is playing for Montesano this year, too.
Yeah, he transferred
over. So, I know learning a new system is hard, but that kid is not only an amazing worker and an amazing athlete, but he's a great kid as well. So I would expect him to be a huge part of everything they do this year.
Well, I feel pretty confident he's going to start at linebacker. Figuring out where they fit him in the offense, whether it's at a running back position or tight end, I'm not sure. But, yeah, huge addition for Monty there with Marcus Hale. So, yeah. I guess...
And sadly, as a Hoquiam guy, it's probably our fourth straight year of being a rebuilding year.
Maybe just a building.
It's a building year.
We feel like the comp would be Centralia, I would say. Hoquiam and Centralia the last 5 years. Where previous really good teams, Centralia's had some really good teams in the past.
Yeah.
Very good athletic department in the past.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a dry spell lately.
So I know we're going to run out of time here in a few minutes, but I want to throw one more thing at you, and I also want to give you, feel free to pass on this. Daniel and I are going to do this at some point in the show, but if you say, hey, I don't have enough information to know the answer to this question, feel free to say, I'm not sure. But what's your kind of impression on, what the league standings, if you were to guess right now, what the final league standings would look like in the 1A Evergreen League?
Okay. I will answer this, but with the caveat that I don't know a ton about the other teams.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and I think I'm going to give Montesano the benefit of the doubt at the top. I do think Rochester can fit in at that 2. And I guess I'm kind of copping out here because I don't know much about Elmar or Hoquiam to see where Tenino fits into that. But that kind of reminds me of the EVCO a little bit, where it's, your top 2 and then everybody else just kind of fighting for third, at least the limited knowledge I have of the other teams in the Evergreen.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
That absolutely
honestly
makes sense.
So, yeah.
Do we want to ask him about any of the
You should still have
B
15
teams?
minutes.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to ask him about any of the B teams or do we want to see if we can have him on at another time?
So I think what we'd like to do, Dylan, the way we usually kind of cover these things is the teams that are closest to us with 1A, we talk about preseason because we have a better idea of them. Raymond South Bend, PL Willapa Valley are also in our coverage area, but we don't often know very much about them preseason, so we usually wait until 2 or 3 weeks down the road when we kind of get an idea of what those teams are like. Would you be willing to come back in a few weeks and we can talk a little bit about the 2B league?
Absolutely. Just PWV is also in our coverage area, but
Okay.
I could also give you some insight on, Napavine's always going to be Napavine, Adna,
Awesome.
all those others.
That's exactly what we're hoping
all
for.
of them.
Yeah.
All of them are if I could talk, sorry. All of them are in our coverage area. So yeah, that'd be fun.
Dude, Napavine's playing Monty this year.
Again, that's becoming a nice little rivalry.
Well, that only
God,
was
I
a
hate
thing.
that word. I hate.
Rivalry.
Shut up.
That only became a thing that
Stuttered
year.
4 times.
You remember, Daniel, that year when Monty played Napavine?
Yeah.
That was a replacement game for a game that was canceled because of COVID. That was not a scheduled game.
Oh, really?
Monty doesn't play 2B teams, like, kind of as a policy. Because they know that, like, you don't gain that much from playing a 2B team, even if it's a good 2B team.
And Napavine will beat you.
But Napavine is so good, that the respect that you get from playing against Napavine is the same that you get from playing against a good 1A team.
That's true.
So the fact that Monty scheduled Napavine this year is like, that's a big step.
Yeah, and just I guess a quick sneak peek into the 2B stuff. Napavine, I think their first 4, I think all of their non-league games are 1As. And we've been joking here that they might start 0-4 just because they're playing like high-end 1As, and they're still probably going to make it to the state title game or state semis. It'll be really funny to just see like 7-4 Napavine slotted into that final 4.
Against Okanagan.
Who
Yeah,
are, yeah,
again.
Yeah, exactly. Who are they playing in their first 4?
We actually still don't know week 1. It's not on Arbiter or WIA, but they go to Life Christian in week 2. They host Cedar Park in week 3, and then they go to Monty week 4 before league play gets going. I believe those are all the names. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Interesting.
week 1 is some 1A. I'm not sure actually why it hasn't been confirmed, but also I did double check. Sorry, I have like 3 monitors here, so
I love it.
just like randomly looking over I believe Noah Scout announced. Excuse my neck. He's going to Annie Wright. if I remember correctly.
Interesting. They've been in the state tournament a few times in the last few years.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. Oh, of course I don't like it, but I understand another private school scooping a kid. Sorry, if you haven't noticed yet, I have a big bias against private schools.
I'm for it.
We all do. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So
I'm a public school guy. I get it.
Let's go.
Yeah. We're all public school guys around here. I was homeschooled.
Dude, that's so weird that we just said that because literally all 3 of us were homeschooled as kids.
Okay.
But we all played sports at some point for public schools. I don't know if you did.
I think the moral of the story of what I was trying to say is like we support the public schools.
Yes.
We're not going out rooting for Kings or Linden Christian. Like
Ugh.
I
gonna
don't
make
know
me
if my
vomit.
school ever beat Bellarmine at anything while I was in school.
freaking Bellarmine Prep.
I saw those.
Where did you grow up going to school? I want to get a little bit more on you because you're fairly new. Is this your second year as the sports editor at the Chronicle?
This will be my second school year here at the Chronicle.
Okay,
But I grew up in Puyallup and went to Emerald Ridge
okay.
before they got good at football.
And then where did you go to college?
Arizona State.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like fun.
Party school.
Yeah.
Not the journalism school. We were just a bunch of nerds.
Oh, actually, you know what? The journalism school at Arizona State has a really, really good reputation. It's a great place. I've heard.
What is it about random party schools having good reputations as journalism schools? I went to Washington State, also random party school, journalism school top notch.
I don't know, man.
I'm sure it's a coincidence.
It's a coincidence. It's totally a coincidence. Well, Dylan, before we let you go, where can people find your work?
Yeah, myself and Zach Martin, who I don't know why I pointed at his desk. He's not here today, but because it's Sunday. All our stuff is at chronline.com, chronline.com. Chron Sports on Twitter, Chronicle Sports on Facebook. Personally, I am DM Wilhelm 225 on Twitter. I'll post a lot of stuff there, have random live updates from throughout the year. And Chronicle Sports Dump will get going here in the next week or so. We took the summer off, obviously, for obvious reasons, but we'll get that going. We do that once a week with Zach, our photographer Cody Kristen, and Aaron Van Tile, who he's been around here a long time. I'm sure some people know, he seems to know everybody around here. But yeah, I think that about covers it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go follow Dylan on everything and friend him on Facebook, all the weird stuff.
Yeah, you're like a stalker.
Yeah,
That's
that's true.
It's fine. And you're going to ask him all the questions about like, hey, Dylan, where'd you go to high school? What's your mother's maiden name? What's the last 4 digits of your social security number?
I advise to be a little cautious about my Facebook. I think there's 2 Facebooks with my name, and one of them I made when I was like 14 to get some reward in a game on the App Store.
Okay.
One of them is my actual one, but I haven't been on it in like a year.
I think I kind of want to go friend the 14-year-old Dylan page. Let's see.
I'll stick.
I think
I'll
it says
stick
I'm
to
like
Twitter.
32, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
All right, Dylan. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to having you back in a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I look
All
forward
right.
to it.
Have a good one.
You too.
That's Dylan. N2 Media says a couple things. He said they're super worried. I think you're talking about Monty fans. And then he said Tumwater is in their own category. Yes,
I agree
correct.
with that. Yeah.
He says watch out for Freeman. Is that in football?
They moved to 2B.
Ooh.
So Freeman is a 2B
Freeman's
team.
2B now?
Freeman's 2B now. So I'm going to assume that
Look
Freeman
out for the Scotties.
seriously super competitive in what is an insanely good top half of 2B.
Gosh, 2B top half is insane.
It's really good.
It's almost frustrating
Yeah.
how good the top half of the 2B is.
Agreed.
And then he said Annie Wright will win 1A. I'm assuming basketball because he saw the Scow news.
Scow's really good, man.
He's really good, and can you imagine him with like the other private school kids there?
Dude, that's a blow. Like, I'm not a Tenino guy.
But that
I'm kind of
sucks.
deflated about hearing that because
Did his sister graduate?
I don't know.
She was older than him though, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think she graduated already. But yeah, was it Noah Scow?
Noah, yeah. But the
Noah just hopped on his boat
that class with
over to Annie Wright.
Noah and Austin Gagne and Jack Burkhart and
Dude.
there's a couple other guys in that class. Really good. Like,
And they
some
were
of them
all in the same class.
Some of them were starting since freshman year.
I hope, and this sounds weird, but I hope his family moved. Because if he just transferred to a private school and they still live in the same place, like if they didn't move for a job or something else, then I just hate life right now.
Really? Over this?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I hate high school sports.
I'm just happy for him.
Congratulations, Noah.
A name that I don't know said reportedly Felix is out for the season due to injury.
Oh, that
I don't
sucks.
want to hear that.
I don't want to hear that either.
I'm going to
Take it back, please.
Yeah, you take that back, sir. That would suck. That'd be sad. Justin's contemplating life right now. We'll see.
we take a commercial break?
I think we might need to with that bombshell. An account we do not know just dropped a bomb on us, and now Justin is furiously going to his phone. And while Justin goes to his phone, and we get ready to move on to the next segment of our show, which I'm not exactly sure what it is. Otherwise, I would give you a brilliant tease. We are going to take a commercial break.
The mailbag. Spivey Realty Group's goal is to make buying, selling, investing, and renting real estate in Grace Harbor simple. They believe in 100% transparency and unparalleled communication with local expertise, tech-enhanced, and top-notch service for their friends, neighbors, and community. Their goal is simple: get a group of strong-willed, hard-working people together who want to make a difference in Grace Harbor and to use real estate as the means of achieving that. Voted Grace Harbor's best real estate company. Find them on Facebook or visit GraceHarborRealEstate.com. Spivey Realty Group, elevating small town real estate.
Welcome back to the Scrimmage. I'm Justin Damashevitz. Daniel Hargrove here with me, as well as Andrew Gross. And if you're wondering about the bombshell that was dropped on us, that Felix Romero may be injured, I cannot confirm or deny any of that information other than I've heard he is injured. No idea how serious it is, but Felix, and man, I will just say, I'm not a man of hypotheticals, but if Felix misses his senior season of football, I'm going to be devastated.
That'll be really
because
sad.
I really love that kid.
Yeah, great kid. And we're not like politicians or departments that say we can neither confirm nor deny, while they totally could. We actually legit don't know. So, but Foul
Although
Soldier Adventures.
If I did
Which
know,
sounds cool. Foul Soldier Adventures. Are you like shooting geese? Like what's going on there? Anyway.
if I did
I'm
know the
envisioning
information about
chickens
Felix's
dressed up in uniforms.
Chickens in choppers.
I will just say, if I did know the information about Felix's injury and it wasn't public yet, I wouldn't say anything.
That's a good point.
You wouldn't say,
If
I
it
have
was-
no idea what's going on, though. You'd be like,
You'd be
yeah,
like-
I can't talk about that.
I might lie.
Justin's a liar. So
I might say I don't know.
I don't know.
I should bring our show sheet back up. I took everything off
Okay,
of my
so-
phone because I wanted to be fully invested
Yeah.
into that interview.
That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, that was great.
Great job by
Dylan. Dylan did great. We really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking to him about the 2B teams. I did double check after I said go Beavs about Takari Hickle. He is still on the Beavers roster.
Okay, good to know.
With everything that's happened over the last couple of years, I thought it would be prudent to double check.
Playing in the Pac-2.
Yep, and he's still listed as a defensive lineman.
Glad to hear it.
Yep, me too.
So I think
Mariners won. Sorry. Dan Wilson wins his first series.
what I want to do, we're gonna go into when we get to Spivey Athlete of the Week,
Like
we're gonna
he's
do.
played in other series before.
Ooh.
Maybe he
Not
wins his
coached.
first series as manager.
We're going to, when we get to our Spivey Athlete of the Week, we're gonna do football players. I can't. We're doing a podcast.
That's a good point. I'm gonna have some delicious.
We're gonna do players to
strawberries.
watch from Aberdeen and Hoquiam. But before we do that, I just want to start kind of talking about our general impressions of the Evergreen 1A League. Andrew and I did a little bit of talk last week about mostly Monty and Elma. We did touch on Hoquiam a little bit. I kind of want, Daniel, like your general thoughts on some of these teams and the returning players from those three teams that you're excited to see and what you think those teams will do.
Monty, Elma, Oquium.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was so busy saluting your
me.
general thoughts, general impressions. I'm after hearing all those names that Monty is bringing back, kind of made me sad a little bit because
Daniel's like, I thought they were graduating people.
I thought they were all gone. But so many of those guys are coming back that it's going to be crazy to see. Elma does have some really intriguing players coming back that I'm really excited to see. I mean, just off the top, Isaac? It's Isaac McGaffey, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Isaac McGaffey. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're running down leads. You are super concerned. But Isaac McGaffey being able to play football
Distracted, not concerned.
right off the top is
Distracted.
awesome.
I didn't even. You know what? We didn't even mention this.
What?
What you're mentioning about Isaac McGaffey just being able to play football.
You didn't even mention it?
We talked about him as an athlete and how excited we were to see him, but we didn't talk about what you're saying.
Yeah, he had a huge injury last
Yeah.
year where he was in the hospital for a while. And the fact that he has been cleared and is ready to play football this year is awesome. And I'm super excited to see what he can do this year. And he's got a couple of guys around him that, should make Elma very, very intriguing. I'm not going to put anybody at the top until they beat Monty. Like, the only way I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, preseason favorite is this team, is if they beat Monty the year before and didn't graduate everybody. So
The only team that beat Monty last year is in 2B now.
is in 2B now?
Yeah, Freeman.
They're the only team. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they were undefeated in the state.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's that. And Hoquiam, maybe I was a little mean when I said that they're in a rebuilding year for the 5th year in a row, but that's how it feels. So until they prove it, that's what it looks like. As hard as it is for me, where Montesano tends to reload every year, Hoquiam runs in age groups. And we're waiting on the next athlete age group to come through, I guess, is the best way to show it. And I don't know which one that is. Did we hear 6th grade? Was that last year or a couple years ago?
I know that I watched some like 5th and 6th grade football 2 years ago for Hoquiam. They look pretty good, like big, strong kids.
So maybe the freshman class this year.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, a lot of it depends on participation because you don't know guys that play football in grade school who keep going.
Yeah, because football's a tough sport,
Yeah,
man.
it requires a lot of you.
It requires more than I was willing to give in high school. It's not just what you give to play the sport, but it's what you give time-wise. It takes up a lot of time and effort.
Yes.
And I'm not going to
pain.
And pain. And I'm not going to blame any kid for being like, yeah, I can do other things.
Yeah, agreed.
But until you have an age group that comes through that provides that buy-in, I mean, Hoquiam tends to run in a cyclical manner. Mm-hmm. And until we find that next age group that comes through, that Steen, Dick, Anderson, we see that age group come through.
Yeah.
I'll know it when I see it.
I think it's been...
And usually I'll see them as freshmen, and I'll be like, oh, if they stay healthy, that's the group.
So you have a lot more history with Hoquiam than I do.
You think?
But I have felt like kind of generally frustrated over the last few years because people
It's been rough, man.
Like young people who are like in high school now know Hoquiam as like a poverty franchise. Like that's a school that doesn't compete in sports. It's generally. And it's frustrating to me because when I think back on the entire time that I've been covering local sports, Hoquiam is generally competitive in multiple sports, like across multiple sports.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't really been that way the last few years.
Has it been with fast pitch?
It's been kind of up and down. Like they've been okay. They had that one really good year, but we're going back a little ways now.
Gosh, is it really? Because that was usually our anchor. Like as much as Monty's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hoquiam's been the team throughout the state that can compete with Monty.
Well, Elma's had some really good teams recently as well.
Thank goodness for Jane Roloff.
Dude, honestly, like she sort of redeemed all of Hoquiam sports.
Right? So I gotta say, now that she's graduated, good luck to Jane. I'll be following her college career.
She's at Portland. She's posting stories on Instagram and stuff, so she's doing good.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Back
interesting.
to football.
Back to football. Joey Bozich, Giovanni Koth, Ethan Byron. There's some names to watch.
I think Ethan Byron, a sophomore that I heard, really athletic kid that might step up into one of those skill spots.
It's gonna be a surprise. But it's not going to be a surprise that I'll be like when Hoquiam starts to compete, it'll be like, yeah, there it is. It won't be like, oh, how is this happening? It'll be like, yeah, there it is.
I don't think it's this year in football. I think we're looking for the phase that we are in with the Grizzlies is like positive signs.
Yeah.
Like, let's see some sophomores and juniors who are having big contributions and you're playing competitive football.
Right. So, yeah. If I was, you posed the question to Dylan, the 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And he went 1, 2, and then just kind of said the next group is by themselves.
Which is totally fair.
Totally fair.
Especially because he said he didn't know much about Hoquiam or Elma.
Yeah. I'm going Monty 1, Rochester 2, Elma 3, Tenino 4, and as much as this breaks my freaking heart, Hoquiam 5.
My top 5 is the exact same as yours.
Yeah,
and there's a part of me that's like, and with some of, I'm calling it preseason hype. What I'm saying is that people are saying Tenino might be one of the top 15 teams out of like 60. So it's not like anybody's saying Tenino is going to go win a state title. I'm having a hard time with the idea that the team that I watched last year lose to Monty 42-0 and really look bad in the process. That they're going to come back with some upperclassmen who were already on the team, and they're going to be good enough to compete with, teams that can compete at the state level.
Yeah.
And it's unfair in the sense that like I'm not giving their coaching staff a chance to like actually coach the team. Having a full year can make a huge difference, as Dylan pointed out. But I'm having a difficult time based on what I saw with my eyes, imagining that Tenino is going to be a good team this year.
Daniel says in our chat, the money required for a football team and the amount of injuries to the kids is crazy. We need rugby teams at the high school level. I don't disagree with that.
Dude, that'd be so dope.
Yeah.
I would love that.
It is a lot cheaper.
I would cover the heck out of rugby.
Yeah.
Although there would be a lot of injuries there too.
There still is. It's different kinds of injuries. Concussions is the primary problem in rugby as well.
Seems like a serious problem.
Coach says it's okay to bleed from your ears.
Yeah. There's less of the super high speed collisions though.
Yeah, that's true.
So if we go team by team here, I think like as we're in agreement that Hoquiam is kind of in that rebuild mode where they need to look like they're making steps in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Is Joey Bozich a junior? Sophomore?
I think he's going to be a junior.
So he's young. Like, I mean, he's not a senior.
Yeah.
So if he plays quarterback, which I'm only assuming, not because I have any inside information, I'm only assuming Joey's going to play quarterback because he played a little bit of quarterback last year when Hoquiam was trying to shake things up and move Xander Jump, who was their whole team, to different skill spots last year. Ethan Byron is a full-on... I don't know anything about this kid except that I was told he's a really good athlete and that he could step into these skill position spots. And Giovanni Koth is someone who I remember as a receiver last year. I don't remember what position he played on defense, but that looked like an athletic kid.
Lots of speed.
Who had good speed and could do some stuff out there. So
weird that Xander Jump, who I remember as like a toddler, is now graduated.
It's so funny.
That's gross.
You're old.
I'm old.
Xander's a stud, man.
Yeah, he is.
Like we got a little caught in this conversation before the show. Like Xander as a 3-sport athlete, really good.
Yeah.
Like he kind of caught Hoquiam at a rough time.
Yeah,
like there wasn't a lot of success in their programs. Xander, excellent athlete.
Yep.
Yeah. And then for Elma,
gosh, I need to text a few people to see some more things going on in Hoquiam. But
okay,
yeah.
We got a whole season to do it.
Yeah.
So
hopefully I'll learn some more, but possibly the freshman class. It's either this year's freshman class or this year's 8th grade. I'm not positive yet, but there's some good things coming.
Yeah. And from an Elma perspective, there's a big shift here because you went from Carter Studer, who was
3-year starting quarterback.
I think so.
3-year, 4-year.
I think 3-year.
Okay.
League offensive MVP. Played quarterback at the Earl Barden All-State game.
Are their stands going to be done yet? Because
no, I think that project got sidelined.
You're kidding me. Sidelined?
I don't think it. I think it's delayed.
I'm
although
upset.
It's possible that I haven't been following the story as much update as I should. But Carter Studer, really good slinger of the ball.
Yes.
Could throw really far. Good player. Yeah. I watched him play at the Earl Barden game. Looked pretty good.
Yep.
They really struggled to block for him last year.
Yeah.
So when, again, I last year, this is going to be a big step for me because last year I suffered from only seeing some of these teams when they played Monty because it was my son's senior year. He played at Monty. This year, I'm a lot more free, man. I'm going to go around. I'm going to see some of these teams multiple times, and I'm going to see them play against other teams. Elma against Monty, not good. Not good at all. Really struggled to block, protect the quarterback, open up running lanes.
Which was most teams until Freeman against Monty.
Absolutely. I think that what Isaac McGaffey at quarterback can bring...
Bitcoin hoodie guy... That's a great name, by the way. Says Isaac McGaffey will dominate.
Well, do you remember last year,
He's
Daniel?
He's a stud athlete, by the way.
Daniel, last year I didn't know who Isaac McGaffey was. I went to the Jambo preseason.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, there's this one kid. His name's Isaac McGaffey. And, like, I'm not sure what he's going to do, but athletically, he stands out.
Yeah.
So this guy, he ended up playing some receiver for them. He played a little quarterback when Studer was hurt also. And he's going to be the quarterback, I assume, for Elma this year. And it's a transition because Studer was, well, he wasn't completely immobile.
Right.
He was a, like, I want to throw the ball down the field quarterback.
Right.
And McGaffey is going to bring a different element.
So fast.
Really fast, can move, can make plays with the ball, but also, like, he's going to want to throw and make plays with his arm as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that the transition of seeing this team go from, like, the Peyton Manning style, like, I'm just going to throw the ball quarterback, to somebody who can do something a little differently is going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Bitcoin hooded guy also says he can dunk the crap out of the ball. So that'll be fun in basketball season. Sadly, as a quarterback, won't help that much.
I'm going to say, I've seen some guys who think they can dunk the crap out of the ball, try to dunk it in a game, and fail.
You know what? Stop talking about me like that.
And I'm talking about Carter Studer.
I never said I could dunk the crap out of the ball.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Shots fired from the Montesano Bulldog, and how many people are surprised?
But Daniel, there's another player on this Elma team. I want to talk about Elma a little bit
I
more.
thought you guys talked about East County last week.
We did, but we didn't do it in depth, and I wanted to get your perspective on them as well. We're just going to go team by team. So we have Aberdeen to do still too, but I wanted to talk with the Elma team about, like, specifically two guys.
Dos hermanos.
One,
Wait, that's two
who
brothers.
you are the president.
Dos hombres.
One
There
of
we
which you are the president of the fan club.
Oh, my guy,
Talk
Ethan
ab-
Camus.
Yes.
Let's go.
Which fan club?
Shut up, Andrew. Ethan Camus, as long
Kira
as
Gardner.
Dude, tape your ankles before every game, Ethan, and you will have a great season. I don't care if you're feeling healthy. As much as my new jam, as much as my new jam is all like, I don't wear braces so that my muscles can stabilize themselves. Get through your senior season, bro. Tape them every game. You are a stud. Isaac McGaffey will look for you on, like, every single play. He is Tyler Lockett. He is the man. And if you knew how much I like Tyler Lockett, Ethan, that is the highest praise I could possibly give. The route running and ball catching ability of this kid is off the freaking charts. And I'm so excited that he was only a junior last year because I forgot about it until I saw you talk about him.
Yeah.
I'm so jacked.
That came from Ian, honestly, because
Dude.
I thought that Ethan graduated. And
Me too.
when I was like, I sent a text out to our group, and I was like, hey, guys, just wanted to get some ideas about some Elma players to watch. And Ian Cope, voice of Grays Harbor Sports,
Yes.
said, what about Ethan Camus? And I was like, Ethan's still around? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Daniel will love to talk about Ethan.
Love it.
Yeah.
We just got some very disheartening news from the chat, Justin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
I can confirm that there's an injury. I'm going to wait until an official diagnosis comes about the severity of the injury.
Gabe, I want to say thank you for hopping on the chat.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate it.
Also,
So,
Gabe, absolute stud.
yes. Love Gabe.
Led the team in tackles last year,
And he didn't get defensive MVP?
despite playing in the same linebacking core as the
Jeez.
person who won defensive MVP.
You know what? I'm
I
going to
will
say maybe if his dad was a podcaster, maybe he would have.
I really
I don't think we
you're-
have any clout.
Yeah, no, we don't.
We have-
Especially me.
We have zero clout.
But I will say, like, if things happen the way that we think they're going to in the league this year, like, on a completely serious note, like, no BS.
Yeah.
If everything happens the way we think it's going to this year,
No Balisk Samarski.
Gabe Bahala, most likely odds-on candidate for defensive MVP of the 1A Evergreen League.
Is he wearing the number that they keep passing down?
I don't know who's wearing 52
Because
this year.
As I feel like number 52 always wins defensive MVP.
Well, that was I'm sure it was people before this, but Tanner Nicholas passed it to Mateo Sanchez. Mateo Sanchez passed it to Peyton Domashevitz, no relation. It didn't get passed down last year, and it's not because it has to be very specific because, like, Gabe, for example, he's a fullback.
Yeah.
So he can't wear 52.
Oh, weird. I didn't think about that.
So, yeah, obviously, 52 could be passed down to Gabe Bahala, but he's a fullback. You can't carry the ball if you wear 52.
Poop.
So it has to be someone who's either a offensive defensive lineman or an offensive lineman and a linebacker.
Why is it 52 and not 44?
Because that was the number that Tanner Nicholas wore.
Oh, okay.
It might
He was
predate.
the origin of the.
It might
so.
predate T-Bone. I'm not sure. But I do know that
Stop.
Tanner passed it to Mateo. Mateo passed it to Peyton.
I guess 44 is a Central Washington thing, not a.
Yeah, that was Adam Big Hill.
Yeah.
Wore
And
44.
That's what I was thinking because he's a money guy, but I don't think he wore 44.
I don't think he
money.
wore. I want to say he wore 4.
Oh,
But that's what he
actually
wears.
Pretty cool too.
But that's what he wore. No, wait, that might just be.
That's a low number for.
Well, he was a stud fullback.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We'll have to go back to the archives to see what Adam Big.
I
Hill
have
wore.
a picture of him from high school.
From high school?
Yeah, I do.
Is he freaking the crap out of me in this picture? Because he did that a couple times, and
looks
I didn't
pretty-
even.
He
play
looks pretty
sports.
tough.
He scared the dickens out of me. Yeah. Ethan Camus can have a monster year as long as he stays healthy. Keep those ankles healthy, bro. Just gonna say that. Love watching him play.
31. He wore 31.
30. You know what? I remember that now. I have vivid
Cam Chancellor.
images of that.
Burned into his retinas.
And I didn't even play football, and yet I just remember seeing that in the daily world week after week.
We have one more. I know we shifted to Monty, not because of me.
Just because of Justin.
We need to circle back to one more Elma guy that I really want to talk about. And then we'll go to Aberdeen.
Okay. Who you got?
Remember last year when we had an argument about how many jackhammers equals a missile?
Yes.
This was a Traden
Yes,
Carter.
I forgot that Traden Carter. I still forget that he's not a. How are some of these kids? How have they not graduated yet?
Well, Traden, who honestly I still most remember from basketball.
Yeah.
Like he's an excellent basketball player.
Very good.
He's going to be one of the strongest, unless he's out there with Peyton. He'd probably be the strongest guard on the court at all times.
Yes.
He looks out of place on a basketball court because he's ripped.
Yep.
But on the football field,
Missile.
he would lay hits on people, including one I have on video of a hit he put on Gabe Bodwell,
Oh my gosh.
who was the league MVP fullback from Montesano, who usually was the guy who laid the hits.
Yep.
Traden Carter laid a hit on him as he was scoring a touchdown in that game. That was, oh man, it looked painful.
Dude.
He also, in that game against Monty, had a hit on Tarek Gunter as he was catching a pass. Tarek hung on to the ball. I'll give him credit.
Yeah.
But got absolutely annihilated by Traden Carter. So when I think of Traden, he'll play offense, and he's going to be coming out of the backfield, probably get the ball in his hands this year.
Yeah.
But I think of him in the linebacker role.
He played safety
I think he's
year.
playing line. I've been
Okay.
told he's playing linebacker this year. I remember him as just an absolute missile,
Yep.
decimating people.
Yes. You are intimidated when you're catching the ball in his area.
I would be. Oh gosh, I would die.
Terrified. Absolutely terrified. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Traden does. But also really hope that he stays healthy into basketball season because he's a really good basketball player.
And also, like, honestly, on offense, I don't remember Traden really having the ball in his hands at all.
A little bit. He did it a little bit towards the end of the season.
So
But he had an injury at the beginning of the season.
true,
remember?
yeah, and he was kind of fighting. Actually, I think he played through an injury
Yeah.
for a lot of the season.
Yeah. So.
And it kind of translated into the early parts of basketball season too.
Yep.
So I think seeing what Traden might be able to do with the ball in his hands is it's a really intriguing thought.
I'm excited.
And I'm excited to watch Elma play someone who's not Monty so that I can root for Elma
Right.
and watch Traden carry the ball.
Ooh. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Beast mode style.
The 1-2A team in the league, which should be 1A and should make all of our lives complete, but instead they don't. Let's talk about Aberdeen.
Yeah.
This class of juniors, are they juniors now? I think they are.
Micah
Tons.
Schroeder's class.
Yeah, tons of good athletes. The only thing I don't know is if they have the linemen to go with it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the bummer because the previous 2 classes had some good linemen. Some big dudes.
Just from last year, Jabron Brooks and Paul Baltasar graduating.
Exactly. If they were 1 year younger, there's a ton of stud athletes in the sophomore class. On the top.
Well, they had good athletes in last year's class, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
was unnecessary.
Yeah, it was.
I apologize.
Micah Schroeder is an absolute monster.
Yeah.
I love this kid so much. My pastor's kid is of this class, and I think Micah might be my favorite kid from the class. So that's what you got to say. Sorry, Luke. I'm sorry, Luke, but Micah is my guy.
Is this because of softball or wiffle ball that you're making this?
He did kind of...
Micah has usurped Luke in your favorite...
Yeah, it might have been before that,
Okay.
too. But yeah, it's because of that.
What did Luke do?
Nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. Micah is just that good of a kid. I love Micah Schroeder. This is a monster. He showed up as a freshman. He showed up as a sophomore. I'm expecting him to have a monster year as a junior. Micah Schroeder, watch out for this kid. Adonis Hammonds, athletically off the charts. This is a kid who anytime he touches the ball can go for 6. He is an absolute stud. Can't wait to see what he does. Legend Vesey. Vesey is a name we know around here. Mm-hmm. He's ridiculously athletic. If he can keep his assignment correct, if he can be disciplined, this is a ridiculous athlete. I had the privilege of coaching all 3 of these kids in Babe Ruth baseball a couple years ago when they were freshmen and sophomore. Now they're juniors and seniors. I'm excited to see what these group of athletes can do on a football field. I just hope that maybe some of the kids who didn't look big as freshmen and sophomores have gotten in the weight room and turned into good linemen as well, because there are some good, strong kids in this class. As Andrew watches a weightlifting video of a Straka, which understandable.
Which Straka?
Yeah, and ones that used to be parts of that class. Matea Straka probably would be a great
Brooks on my football team.
Yeah, she probably would still be a good offensive lineman. Is she Jabron's age or a year older?
A year older.
Oh, okay, so she would have graduated by now. But this is a group that I'm curious to see how their line has developed, because I know their skill positions are good. Those 3 guys I'm excited about. I'm also really curious to see what happens at quarterback. I'm curious to see what their roster looks at. I don't know if Bubba is playing football this year, but he's another stud athlete. Bubba Jones. I don't know if he's playing football this year. I'm excited to see if he is. I know he's a freak show baseball player, and so I'm always... When I see kids who are super high level in one of their sports, I don't know if they're still going to play football, because it's a risk. I want to know who their quarterback is, because last year their quarterback graduated. So is it going to be Luke Martin? I don't know. I don't know who their quarterback is. A lot of unknowns on the quarterback side, the offensive line side of this Aberdeen team, but I do know that they have some really good skill position guys.
I think
Carter Kolodzi, offensive line dude, played some as a sophomore last year. So probably going to be one of the anchors on the offensive and defensive line for this team.
I mean, I think when I'm looking at this group, Legend Vesey is a name that's new to me.
He played some last year.
Played a little bit last year. He's going to be one of the few seniors on this team.
Yep.
Very few seniors on this team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably where, Aberdeen has to be looking at this as obviously we want to do the best we can this year, but this year's building for next year as well. Yeah. And that, you got sophomores and juniors who are going to step up next year and be a big part of what's going on. And so Legend, I'm excited. I've only heard good things about what he's capable of athletically. Mm-hmm. And then Adonis, one of the few guys when Aberdeen played Monty last year who made a play. Yeah. He scored a touchdown. Yep. Caught a pass, scored a touchdown. I'm very aware of what he's capable of. And then
there was a nasty slider that some random Babe Ruth coach taught him.
Want to try that again?
No. Okay. Throws a nasty slider that a random Babe Ruth coach taught him.
Okay.
There we go.
Was it you?
Yeah.
All right. So I think when you look at this team, Micah Schroeder is like the hood ornament. He's like the centerpiece,
dude,
of what's going on.
That kid is just a freak show athlete.
When I watched Micah, I knew Micah was good and fast and athletic, and I watched him in track in the spring. He's also like, his frame is insane.
Yeah.
He's tall
Yep.
and thick, but also trim at the same time. Like he's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
He's going to be a force to be reckoned with in football this year. So I do know that there's some other players to keep an eye on for Aberdeen as well. There's Wixon brothers. I can't remember the first names of these two guys. They're in different grades, but they're players to keep an eye on. What
Wixon?
they can do. Wixon, yeah. And then
That's very interesting.
okay,
There was, my dad always used to talk about a guy named Wixon, who was just an insanely ridiculous athlete.
yeah. I don't
And
know.
so I
much.
wonder if he's related, if these kids are related somehow.
Could be, maybe.
Yeah.
The other one's Ryder Creamer,
Yeah.
who I've heard Ryder as probably a tight end.
Also coached him. Ryder is an excellent athlete. I think he not only played, I think he started at defensive end last year and made some good plays as a sophomore. So
Yeah.
him coming into his junior year, yes, I would be very remiss to not mention Ryder.
So
Very good athlete.
the hard part for Aberdeen is it's just an uphill battle, man.
Dude,
Like,
you're playing against freaking Tumwater and Chehalis.
You're playing in a league every year that is just brutal.
Yeah.
And like 2A in general is brutal, but when two of the best teams in all of 2A play in your league,
Yeah.
like, you know, it was pointed out, you're basically fighting for third
Yep.
all the time. So you're fighting against Centralia, you're fighting against Black Hills, you're fighting against, well, not Rochester anymore.
Yeah. Wait.
Did they have a replacement in that league? I don't know. Eatonville went to a different league. I think they went to SBSL.
Eatonville went to a different league. Shocker.
Well, they're playing in the league with Ording and those other 2A teams.
Eatonville can suck it.
Wow, you really hate Eatonville.
I hate them so much.
Yeah, because of something that happened when you were 13.
Maybe 12. One of the two.
So anyway, yeah. So I think for Aberdeen, like your level of I'm trying to compete is different than what some of these other teams are. I think you hope you can get into like a crossover spot against a Greater St. Helens team that you have a shot at, and maybe you can sneak into the lower half of the playoff.
I always forget about Shelton. Aberdeen, Black Hills, Centralia,
Yeah.
Shelton,
I
Tumwater,
thought
WF West.
Shelton didn't move up to 3A.
According to the 2aevergreen.com website,
Okay.
which we always know is never out of date. Actually, it always is. So who knows? Shelton might be out of it, and they might just be a 5-team league. I don't know.
Shelton's been kind of back and forth,
Yeah.
and I heard they were moving up, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't follow up on, like the late stages of that, so I'm not sure. So anyway, for Aberdeen, I think it's an uphill battle, and it's going to be difficult, but if you're going to get where you want to go, sorry, I kicked you.
Yeah, I thought it was a dog.
No, it was me. I think if you're going to get where you want to go, it's going to be on the back of Micah Schroeder, and it's going to be if he can manage to have just a massive season for you. And if some of these other guys that we mentioned, and probably some that we didn't mention, can step up and fill big roles for this team as well.
I don't think I have any more to add on that, man.
Okay.
And it's been actually a busy time in regional sports
Yeah.
recently. So as much time as we have spent on local, which has been awesome,
Yeah.
I think we might have to name an athlete. Wait, how do we do athlete of the week? What is going on for this?
We're going to do, so last week we did football players.
so confused.
We did football players to watch from Monty and Elma. So this week we're going to do football players to watch from Hoquiam and Aberdeen.
Okay.
So we'll pick 3 from each team.
Okay.
I have an
Did we-
inclination of the way that I wanted it to go.
Yeah.
But you feel free to
I
throw.
think we already did.
Okay.
Didn't we already do this?
Well, for Aberdeen, it's going to be Micah Schroeder for sure.
100%.
And I think Adonis Hammonds is a fair addition there
Yeah.
as another big playmaker. And then Legend Vesey as the senior who we've been told is going to have a big impact on this team as well.
Yep.
And watch
Dope.
Trayden carry the ball.
Yeah. Dope name, by the way. Legend.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Is it or is it demanding Like, would that be hard to live up to?
I would hate that name. Just throwing that out there.
It's cool for someone else to have.
Yeah, exactly. I would name it like a name like Bob or Daniel
or Dan.
Not Dan. Dan sounds like a creeper.
And then for Hoquiam, I think like the kind of obvious way that we went was Joey Bozich, because that's like the guy that we remember from last year who did something.
Yep.
And then Ethan Byron was a name that I heard from not just one person, but two people as an up-and-coming athlete from one of the lower classes. And then Giovanni Koth was someone I remembered after being reminded. Again, I'll give a shout-out to Forrest Wargum for reminding me, hey, Giovanni Koth played receiver last year, and he looked pretty good. So I give that shout-out to Giovanni as well.
Yep, absolutely. We got some regional sports, and boy, has it been a doozy lately. Not only do we have Mariners to talk about, but also the Seahawks had their third preseason game, which blew me away when I found out that was happening last night.
I 100% forgot about it.
Until I got that Bleacher Report notification saying, hey, Seahawks are up at halftime. I was like, what?
Anyone else?
I'm in the middle of a fantasy draft right now. What? All that and more coming up next.
Do you have a legal situation and need someone on your side? Let the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz be your advocate. If you've been the victim of medical malpractice, suffered a personal injury, or need representation with real estate law, small business law, or estate planning, let Jeff Damashevitz put his 29 years of experience to work for you. Call Jeff Damashevitz today at 360-612-3991 or visit damashevitzlaw.com. That's DAMASIEWICZLAW.com.
So Bitcoin hoodie guy, just last parting shots from our previous discussion, says, I'll make your guy's job easy. Isaac McGaffey, player of the week, every week once the season starts.
Okay, I like your confidence.
He'll be like Jake Locker, but smart.
So he'll get hurt. So he'll get hurt like immediately? Or that's what Jake Locker did.
No, but a smart, not in
Smart,
college.
Smart
Are you
Jake
thinking
Locker stay healthy?
Are you thinking college or pro?
I'm 100% scarred by the fact that Jake Locker got drafted by my Titans and then kept getting injured.
I was thinking
immediately.
college Jake Locker,
Okay.
where he fumbled, or where the only reason UW beat Oregon State with Jake Locker was because they called a fumble at the 1 yard line and UW picked it up and carried it 99 yards for a touchdown, even though the Beavers guy, like, entire body was on the ground before he fumbled. Still really upset about that. Not gonna lie.
What does Bitcoin hoodie guy mean? Like, what is that? Like, what's the joke there?
I don't know, but is Bitcoin hoodie guy just an alias for Chase Farrier?
No.
Oh, okay.
Chase never shies away from just telling us who he is and what he thinks.
That's true.
Where
That's
is
true.
Chase? He works Sundays
He works
now.
Sundays now. Dang it.
I'm going to have to text him and
Yeah.
get his ideas on what he thinks
So,
about Elma.
I just
you guys realize that when
friended him on
people
Facebook.
comment, it's their channel name.
Yeah.
So,
we
okay,
do realize that, Andrew.
I
So
didn't
it's not
realize
just
that.
yeah.
Wait,
it's,
Never mind. Justin's an
That's
idiot.
the name of,
didn't know
of
that.
the channel that he has.
It's their
He
YouTube
does-
channel.
He does YouTube videos.
Does he do YouTube videos about Bitcoin?
Yes, he does.
Oh, really?
Does appear to be so.
Andrew's busy snooping on
What's
him
his
over
actual, like, his given Christian name?
You'll have to ask him that.
Okay, well,
here. Oh,
not helpful.
interesting.
Thanks,
But
Andrew.
apparently he's an Elma guy. Elma guy.
Northwest guy.
All right. For the second part of our show, we are going to get things going with the 2-minute drill.
Let's go, hurry up! Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation, 44 seconds, hand the ball to ref. Gonna do it right. 3 jet Buckeye, don't worry.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
The Mariners have fired manager Scott Service and
fired.
replaced him with Dan Wilson. Daniel, will this solve all their problems?
All of them.
Oh, nice.
Dan Wilson,
I love
fan
Dan
favorite. I have a Funko Pop that was modeled after him.
Wilson. Yeah.
So when my son Anchor says, "Who's that?" I say, "That's Dan Wilson." He gets excited.
Yeah.
His name's Dan.
You're teaching your son the right things.
Yes. Good Christian guy. And that
So he sounds
spirituality,
like a creeper?
shush. That spirituality, gonna bring him over the top. Hey, All I know is the Astros have lost 2 games since he's been hired, so something's got to be good.
They should.
Prayer. It's the power of prayer.
Power of prayer. In an interview with Dan Lebatard last week, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa made national headlines by describing his former coach Brian Flores as a terrible person. I love it. Justin, was Tua out of line, or was his coach a jerk?
Well, number one, it seems like his coach was a jerk. I think although the quote of a terrible person is what caught national headlines, Tua was he was calling Brian Flores a terrible person, but he was also doing it in a passive aggressive hypothetical sort of a way.
Yeah, Tua's too nice
he said
to do
he
that.
was a terrible person for where he was in life at that time or something like
No,
that.
what happened was he was describing in context, how would you feel if you had a terrible person telling you that you suck every day?
Yeah.
So he did call him a terrible person, but he also didn't directly do it. But he was making it very clear that, hey, this person who was my coach told me I suck and I don't belong here. And then I got a coach in who said, hey, I believe in you. And it made him play better.
Yep.
That was the whole point of the interview. And I think Tua was right to say what he did.
Yes, absolutely.
On Friday, Shohei Ohtani became the 6th member of baseball's 40-40 club with a walk-off grand salami. He is by far the fastest player to achieve this feat. Daniel, could he get 50-50? You're so mad right now. You wanted a ton.
Let's go.
Spivey.
Let's go.
What is happening?
I don't know what's going on. All I know is the
Sorry.
rapid progression through those sound effects describes my emotions.
You looked like you were upset. Did you not read this question beforehand?
What do you think, Justin?
I think you didn't.
I think he can get to 50-50.
Sorry I hurt you.
I love Shohei Ohtani, and I hate Shohei Ohtani. I love the Dodgers, and I hate the Dodgers.
Why do you love the Dodgers?
Because I had this little teddy bear growing up that was in a Dodgers uniform,
That was not what I expected.
and his name was Dodger Bear. And I just remembered him about 3 years ago when I gave him to my son. And now he requests to snuggle with Dodger Bear.
And you did
Who
that
has
to
a-
your son?
I'm giving him the option, Andrew. I think at 8 years old, I'm going to give him the choice. I'm going to give him the out. I'm going to say, son. I'll probably say Anchor. I'll probably say his name. I'll be like, I know you're a Mariners fan, but the Mariners suck.
Start calling,
So if you want to root for a different team, maybe the Dodgers, I'm giving you that choice.
start calling it Ohtani Bear.
Ohtani. That's a good call. The AL and the NL MVP races seem pretty much locked up for Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Excuse me, sorry, Aaron Judge. Justin, if these two were still in the same league, which would deserve the... is this a question?
It's so funny that it seems like,
It's not close.
hey, we're celebrating Shohei Ohtani getting to the 40-40 and maybe he'll get 50-50. But Aaron Judge is crushing him in every other statistical category. Yeah. And I think again, I feel kind of silly about this because I want to just...
Except for one person plays in a stadium, which literally you hit pop-ups and they're home runs.
I just want...
And when you're 600 and you're a massive human and you just flick the bat out there and you hit a pop-up, Aaron Judge is playing in a stadium like a fast pitch player.
I didn't really expect to
Wow.
get this kind
Sorry.
of pushback from you.
Shots fired at fast pitch
I was
players.
going to say that Aaron Judge should be the MVP.
Yeah, well, Aaron Judge
Am I
is
wrong?
playing in a freaking bandbox, which is a joke.
Am I wrong?
If it's even
Dude,
a
let's throw this out
conversation-
here.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
Actually, if you're passionate about this, I want to hear your thoughts.
yesterday, a guy for the Giants hit a home run, and the broadcasters for the Giants said, "Oh, according to this stat, apparently that home run only would have been a home run in these 2 other ballparks. Of course, the New York freaking Yankees was one of those ballparks. It's a freaking joke show. Joke show. Aaron Judge is a
Ohtani just
giant.
started throwing again.
Oh.
With his
This is
non
literally
his
the
non Tommy
only
John
year
surgery.
that Aaron Judge has a chance.
This is. Well, it's league
That is
specific. It's
that
league
is the
specific,
yeah.
Andrew.
I know, but in this conversation,
Yes.
Yeah.
this
And
is
I
the only
totally
year where
agree
he
with-
has a chance.
Yeah.
Totally agree with Andrew, because if Ohtani was pitching, it would completely
Not
change
a
the conversation.
conversation.
But
Yeah.
like the only thing that Ohtani is better at is being fast, hitting wise right now.
Yeah.
But
Are either of them playing in the field? Or are they
yeah,
both
Judge
Yeah,
plays center field. He's
Judge plays either center or right.
I would-
depending
is
on
he
games.
good?
I would
He's
give the
he's
edge.
Serviceable.
a borderline crap center fielder
really?
and a serviceable right fielder.
Okay,
I would
He has a
give the-
cannon for an arm,
I,
but his range is eh.
he's a
the
great
edge
basketball
has to go to Judge though this year. in this
Statistically, it's
conversation.
not close.
If he's
Statistically, it's
contributing
not
on
close.
defense.
I think
Because-
even if he's not contributing on defense,
If you just look at stats and you don't look at where they're freaking putting up those stats, then yes.
and with
Ballpark factor is a stat.
yeah, and
So,
take the ball,
including
go look
looking
up the
at
ball,
stats.
go
I'm
look
just
up
saying-
that stat then.
So
I'm
'Cause
not
all the
arguing
stats
against
that-
you, Daniel.
I know-
I'm saying you shouldn't say if you only look at stats. You should be like
And
if
I'm
you
saying-
look at all the stats.
And I'm saying that the stats that Justin is mentioning
Yeah.
don't bring up ballpark factor.
exactly.
So
That's-
go look up that stat so you can tell Justin that his stats are stupid.
his batting average is 40
I
points
don't
higher.
know where to find that.
His
Exactly.
OPS is way higher.
Yeah.
He has more home runs, like 30 more RBIs.
I don't care.
Yeah.
He's a freaking Yankee and they're gross.
My only point is that, like, I don't want the fact that we hate the Yankees.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose track of the fact that, like, what Aaron Judge has done the last few years,
The dude is
pretty
swinging.
historic. Like,
He's
the guy's-
swinging a toothpick, for gosh sakes. He's swinging a toothpick, and he plays half of his games in a stadium that's basically a fast pitch field. I play on slow pitch fields that have farther fences than Aaron Judge plays Major League Baseball fields in.
You have
Get out of here. I don't give a crap about his stupid home run numbers. He plays on a freaking slow pitch field. It's garbage. It is garbage, garbage, garbage. And when you put a giant on a slow pitch field, of course they're going to hit nukes. It's dumb. It's like when everybody's like, oh, Daniel, you really think you can hit home runs against fast pitch players? And I'm like, yes, they play on a Little League field, for gosh sakes. Little League fields literally have farther fences than
Daniel's-
fast pitch fields.
Why does Daniel hate fast pitch?
Ah!
He keeps taking shots at fast pitch.
So back to Aaron Judge. Daniel literally woke up a deaf dog.
I'm sorry, Cucumber. That's my bad. I need to take a break. You guys, I know we've used our commercial breaks. But
You know what? I'll
I need
lead
to
it.
calm down.
You go. I'll lead into it, and
Would
then we'll
you
go into
like
it.
to know what Brave AI has to say about Ohtani and Judge
I would.
with taking into account the ballpark factor?
Yeah.
According to Brave AI, a ballpark factor analysis reveals that both Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge have played in hitter-friendly environments, which affects their statistics. However, the degree of impact differs between the two. As a Los Angeles Angels player, Ohtani has benefited from playing half his games at Angel Stadium, which has slightly above average park factor for home runs, 1.04, and a neutral park factor for runs scored, 1.0. This has contributed to his impressive power numbers. As a New York Yankees player, Aaron Judge has played most of his games at Yankee Stadium, which has a significantly above average park factor for home runs, 1.23. So 1.23 versus 1.04. And a slightly above average park factor for runs scored, 1.06. This has amplified his power and overall production.
I like it.
I think the thing Daniel was looking for is the 1.04 versus 1.23. That's a pretty significant park factor for home runs.
Also, when you take into account that said Los Angeles Angels instead of the Dodgers, which I don't know.
It's according to what it's saying here. It's putting him in Angel Stadium.
So, if you can, I'm just curious. Google the park factor for the Dodgers.
By the way, Daniel in the chat says, this is Daniel Gross, by the way. He says, Daniel rants are the best. Which, by the way, I totally agree with. I think it's like, for me, maybe it's because I find them so hilarious. It's like peak Scrimmage. It's the best of our show.
So I want to know, do the Dodgers have a better or worse than the...
For what it's worth, according... This is what I'm seeing here. I don't stand by this at all. This is a very quick search. It looks like Dodgers Stadium's park factor is 0.97, which means they produce 97 runs for every 100 runs in the average park.
And what was the Yankees? Wasn't it like 0.14 or something like that? So, I believe...
Reading the search for you for Yankees. 117?
Yeah. The Yankees play in a Little League field.
Wait,
and then
but
Francis says, October baseball. Baseball is great, Daniel. Can't wait for you to experience it.
It says here the Yankee...
I'm
the
so close to
Yankees
flipping
park
off the
factor
camera right now.
Is 128 home runs for every 100 home runs in an average park. In 2023, Yankee Stadium was identified as the most pitcher-friendly park, which seems
Pitcher-friendly
odd.
park? That's the stupidest. What did the Yankees media guide put that together? Oh, you know what? The Yankees pitchers are the most pitcher-friendly park. Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Sorry.
So here's what I think we should do.
What should
Since
we do?
You need a minute to calm down, and I need a break.
Are we going to take a
Daniel.
third break?
Well, we didn't take a second break yet.
Oh, so I
Did
went...
we take a second break?
Yes, we did.
Oh,
Yeah.
we already did. Okay, so then what we actually need to do, I forgot we took our second commercial break. No, my bad. We have to wrap up the show with my favorite part of the show.
But we didn't even talk about... Okay.
What?
I'm good.
What'd you want
I just feel like the firing of a manager deserves more than just a 2-minute drill question.
Sure, let's discuss it.
Well, this is massive news.
Yeah.
Not only for the guys they fired, but the fact that they went like, hey, 1995 was fun. Let's hire a bunch of old heroes for those fans to get excited about.
Which ones?
Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez.
That's 2001 heroes.
And 95 heroes.
It's 2001 heroes.
They're both. They went maximum hero, Justin. Both of those guys played on both of those teams. They went maximum hero.
It's bothering me that people keep calling them 95 heroes because I didn't live here then.
Dodgers?
They're 2001 heroes.
I'm sorry they bothered you then, Justin, but both of those teams made it the same distance, which is also sad.
I didn't live here in 95.
Well, I did. I was a child.
You were a baby.
I was a 6-year-old child.
Strawberries are so good.
I know, they're so good. What I don't understand is these strawberries have been here for like a month.
According to Baseball Savant, Yankee Stadium is actually slightly lower in home run effect than Dodger Stadium, for what it's worth.
Interesting.
Does that mean it's easier for Shohei to hit home runs?
Slightly.
Than
That
Judge?
does appear to be slightly easier.
Would you like to retract your rant?
No, I would like to
they're both
punch in the
top
nuts
3.
anybody who said that, because it's a joke show. Because their fields are so vastly smaller. That's somebody going, oh, I'm smarter.
They both have a 99 park factor.
Oh, I'm smarter.
Because the other stat, when somebody hits a home run and then the stat cast shows up, this would be a home run in only one other ballpark. And the Yankees Stadium is always that ballpark.
You're not taking into consideration economical factors and environmental factors and that.
Francis says, "Eat it,
feels
Bubby."
very
You know what?
Antidotal.
Shut it. And Daniel says, "Is a pitcher-friendly park where they cover the outfield with things that look like baseballs." What? Also, why has no one done that? They're not allowed to. That'd be pretty fun.
So let's talk about Scott Service for a minute.
I like Scott Service.
Because my initial reaction, which I shared with people I work with, was I don't like it in general
Yeah.
when good and decent people get fired.
Yes.
And I think Scott Service is a good, decent man.
I agree.
He also worked for the Mariners as a manager for like 9 years.
Yep.
And made a lot of money.
Yep. That's true.
So I'm not going to feel terrible
That's a
about
good
the fact
point.
that this part is over.
Thank you. I
But-
needed that.
So he's going to be okay.
He's going to be fine.
Scott Service is going to be okay. And I like him, and I think he's a good man, and I wish him the best in his life.
Yeah.
The Mariners got to a point where they had to do something.
Yeah.
Because as you Daniel, called it the best trade deadline in a long time.
That's a good point. And now it's gone to poop.
And now it's gone to poop. And sometimes when you shake up, like Scott Service was dead in the water. If he wasn't going to be fired now.
Oh, that's funny. Francis commented a couple things and then deleted them because he said,
No, I
"You deleted them." He said the best they could do.
in timeout for a minute.
That checks out. He said the best they could do was hire people that beat the Yankees 23 years ago.
So,
Francis, yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing to say. Is they beat the Yankees. The Yankees have the two biggest collapses in playoff history. By the way, they were the first team to ever lose when they were up 2-0 in a 5-game series, and they were also the first franchise to ever lose up 3-0 in a 7-game series. So yeah, I think bringing back those guys might not be the worst idea.
Angry Daniel is my favorite Daniel. But I think we need to get back to the point that we were talking about.
Scott Service was not the problem, but maybe a shakeup will help.
That's literally 100% exactly what I was thinking. Is sometimes like a voice gets kind of old, and it became very obvious that there was at least a couple of guys in the Mariners clubhouse that were not hearing him. And so if they get a new voice in there, like not that Scott Service was bad or that Dan Wilson is great, but a new voice can sometimes reinvigorate people.
Yeah.
And maybe it will turn into something better. And if it doesn't, it kind of doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Because Scott Service was dead in the water. He was going to be fired if they missed the playoffs this year anyway.
Yep.
So I don't think it makes a difference whether they fired him now or after the season.
Is DePoto fired if they miss the playoffs?
That's the question. Does this cover for if
It doesn't.
is the actual problem the manager, or if they miss the playoffs again this season, is
Actually
the problem that the build hasn't been good enough?
I actually think that it buys DePoto one more year.
Does it?
By firing
That's
Service.
why I'm worried.
I don't know if it does.
I think it
Because
does.
I don't think
that
it should.
whether
I
he
don't
fired
think
him
it
now
does.
or at the end of the season, I think firing the manager buys him one more year.
I think. Okay, I'm gonna agree with you in one sense.
Okay.
I think it's a combination.
Okay.
I think because the farm system is so highly regarded, and
Because of DePoto.
and that he fired the manager,
Okay.
buys him another year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it deserves it, but I think it does. So I'll go with you on that one.
Okay.
I think that DePoto's seat is very hot.
I hope it's hot.
Regardless
Regardless of the
I think they
farm
mean
system,
the same thing, actually.
of the farm system. Let's see, Francis. I thought you put Francis in timeout.
I did, but only for a minute.
He said you know Reed too good.
what he
27
said,
titles.
What he said before was that the best they could do was bring back the guys that lost to the Yankees 23 years ago.
Dude, they beat the freaking Yankees after they were down 2-0. Suck a massive one, Francis.
Massive what?
The first time that had ever happened, and the 3-0 had ever happened, the Yankees are the only ones who can suck so hard that all they need is one more win out of the next rest of the series. They're the only team that has ever sucked that hard.
Suck what so hard?
The big one.
Big what?
It's a PG-13 show, Justin. I'm not just going to say dicks willy-nilly.
Wow. You went there.
Did I?
It's a great burger chain.
I was provoked. I like Scott Service. Mm-hmm. If I was Dan Wilson, 30 games left, right? Roughly 30 games left.
Dan Wilson.
Love Dan Wilson. If I was Dan Wilson, you know what I would say? Jerry, if I'm going to do this for 30 games, I don't want any of your input. I'm going to manage this team how I see fit. I will take your numbers, and I will shove them if I want to.
Where?
Into my butt.
Your own butt?
My own butt.
Wow.
I will shove them.
Usually you shove them into someone else's butt.
If it doesn't work, if we do not play well, that's neither here nor there. If it doesn't work, then next year, when you told me I will still have the job, I will follow your leadership more closely. But I am not going to go down. I'm not going to become the manager to just do exactly what you say, which is what Scott Service was doing. Everybody was going, Scott Service sucks, when he was just doing what Jerry DiPoto told him to do. So if I'm Dan Wilson, I'm going, you know what? If you're going to hire me, I'm going to do it my way for the last 30 games. If it doesn't work, okay, we'll go back to your way. But that's what I'm saying.
Andrew, thoughts?
I just want to put out there that Daniel has been heavy on the Jerry DiPoto lying liar who lies bandwagon.
Yes.
Agreed. And I've been trying to be like, well, maybe he's the way that Scott Service was fired was absolutely inexcusable.
Oh, good call. Talk about it.
Absolutely zero excuse for doing an interview with a national reporter where when he asks you, so are you going to fire Scott? You say, well, that has to be part of the question. And then
ridiculous.
Several days later, that reporter reporting that Scott was fired before you've talked to Scott. And then you're like, oh, that was just terrible. I hate how that went. Yeah! You hate how that went because you did it horribly!
Yes. Preach, Andrew!
There's just absolutely no excuse for how that was handled. If Jerry DiPoto was intending to do it rightly, if he was intending to do it correctly, he is so incompetent that he should be fired.
I want Dan Wilson, and I don't want Jerry DiPoto.
That's why I'm not that excited at Dan Wilson being hired, because I'm worried that it's a cover. It's a short-term, like, we're just going to do this thing so that fans keep buying tickets and keep paying attention and tuning in, and nothing actually changes.
Yep.
And I love Dan Wilson, and I don't want him to take the reputation hit that it's going to be when in a year Jerry DiPoto gets fired and everything blows up.
100%. I can't agree with you more. I'm so glad that you brought that back up, because I forgot that Scott Service found out that he was fired from a breaking news alert.
It's horrible.
Jerry DiPoto.
Scott Service, to his detriment, was a company guy.
Yeah.
He was doing exactly what he was told. He was working overtime this last offseason, making up for the fact that Jerry DiPoto can literally not keep from putting his foot in his mouth. and infuriating players. And Scott Service was flying around the country getting every one of these players back on board and convincing them, no, Jerry's just bad at talking. Like, we really have a plan here, and we're going to be good.
Dude.
And then he just got dropped via social media.
Dude. Prime Scrimmage, Andrew rants.
Yeah, really good. I would also like to point out in closing, before we move on to my favorite part of the show, that
yes,
when someone says says to shove it, and then it's to shove it up their own butt, it's only because that's what they wanted the whole time. So now let's move on to my favorite part of the show.
Not gonna lie, that's 100%. Also glad that N2 Media is still here for some reason.
Serving questions up on a silver platter, where the points are made up and the rules don't matter. Time for Stump Daniel.
He said, rated R content, here for it. And then Daniel said, we're all in. We might need an After Dark podcast at some point.
Shove it up your butt.
Right up it.
My favorite part of the show, Stump Daniel, is brought to you, hopefully still after this, by the law office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz.
That's right. He doesn't listen.
Over
no relation.
30 years. Over 30 years.
30 plus.
30 plus years of experience.
Daniel,
our sponsors are amazing because they sponsor us and because they don't pay attention to what we say.
Daniel, for this week's edition of Stump Daniel, I want you to tell me, first off...
Dude, last week's was brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
That was so good.
You like Taylor Swift backup dancer?
Yeah.
Okay. This week, I want you to tell me how many qualifying MLB players are batting over 300, and how many can you name?
Oh.
How many of the MLB qualified players batting over 300 can you name? So first of all...
Over 300?
Yeah. Give me the number.
So good.
Give me the number. Well, it used to be
What
kind
is this,
of like...
the year 2000?
It used to be like the standard of good. Now it's like, oh my god, you're amazing.
Is this Y2K?
Maybe.
We're old farts.
How many
Check these
qualified MLB players are batting over 300?
5.
Boy, are you wrong.
Dang it.
It's actually 8.
Oh,
It's better than you thought.
shocking.
I'm
shocked.
How many of these players do you think you can name? I'm going to give you 8 guesses to get as many as you can.
Luis Ariz.
Does he qualify?
Who does he play for?
I think he plays for the Padres now.
That is correct.
Nice.
Boom.
Is
Roasted.
A-R-R-A-E-Z?
Yep.
Okay, 303. He's batting 303.
Yeah, that's how you announce his
He
name.
is one of the 8. I didn't know who he was until literally this moment. Daniel, who are some of the other guys?
Well, now it goes down the crapshoot.
There's a few that are on this list that I do not know who they are.
Mookie Betts?
Ooh, I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Mookie Betts actually not on the list anywhere I can find.
Shohei Ohtani?
Shohei Ohtani, not close. He's actually batting 292.
That seems
What
pretty
a-
close to me.
What a loser.
How is that not close?
.088 off.
But if he's doing that well in home runs and hitting over 300, I would have been like, how is this a conversation?
Well, I mean, Aaron Judge has a higher batting average and more home runs and more RBI, so
Aaron Judge has a higher batting average?
significantly.
Then I'm going to guess Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is batting 333. MVP of the MLB, Aaron Judge is batting 333. You're correct.
So much for the you give up batting average to get home runs, guys.
He also has 51 home runs.
But apparently not giving up batting average.
I halfway redact what I said earlier.
Okay.
Because I'm going to say that half of his dingers, I'm going to say a quarter of his dingers would have been flyouts.
122 RBI.
Yeah, a quarter of his home runs would have been pop outs in Safeco Field.
What about his batting average of 333?
I'm not going to lie, his batting average changes my
second
thought.
in the majors.
It would be lower if he were hitting.
But what
pop-ups.
he has 51 home runs, right?
Yep.
So a quarter of that is what? 14 home runs, 13 home runs. So that would drop his batting average almost down to the 300 mark.
In an unprecedented move, I'm going to ask you to filibuster. I'll be right back.
You know, because Aaron Judge plays in the Little League field. Andrew?
Yeah.
So
Said that.
So I'm going to say half of his home. How many home runs does Aaron Judge have? Can you look that up for me really quick?
Oh, jeez.
I know I'm asking you to work really hard. But Aaron Judge home runs.
How many home runs?
Yeah, how many home runs does he have at Yankee Stadium? That's what I want to know. Because I assume some of them are just absolute nukes.
I'm so not.
You know, some of them are nukes.
I don't know what I'm looking
But
at.
other ones are just pop-ups that happen to be home runs because it's at Yankee Stadium. So because of that, I'm going to say roughly 14 of Aaron Judge's home runs not only would have been not home runs, but they would have been pop-outs.
I do not trust this because I'm literally just
Reading.
searching things on Brave and trusting Brave AI's
Okay.
search results.
Yeah.
According to that, Aaron Judge is at 19 home runs at Yankee Stadium.
19 of his 51 home runs. So I'm going to say 10 of those were pop-outs.
So 41 then.
So those would have been outs.
That's not even impressive.
Those
is it?
would have just been outs.
Well, it's the same amount Ohtani has. So.
Well, but you also take that away from his batting average.
But
because
also-
Ohtani hit doubles. That would have been home runs at Yankee Stadium.
I feel like Daniel.
Ohtani has less doubles than Judge.
I know, because
Not
Judge hit the
joking.
wall when they would have been pop-outs. You could
Not-
take another 5 doubles away from Judge.
A good fielder would have caught the ball that hits
Jokes
the wall.
aside, I feel like you should spend a solid couple hours.
Dude,
It's not going to
if you
happen.
Get a chance.
dude,
diving
tonight,
into this at some
tonight at midnight when my wife falls asleep, I'm just going to dive into this.
It's not going to happen.
I'm going to go to bed at 2 this morning.
It's not going to happen.
Shut up.
I understand that it's difficult.
I've got tiny
time.
kids.
You've got 2 in 3 guesses. How many more do you think you can get of these 8?
Well, it's definitely no Mariners.
I can neither confirm
There-
or deny that.
There can't be any Mariners over 300.
0 chance.
There are no Mariners in the top 50.
Yeah,
In the top
they're-
50?
that makes sense.
Shocker.
They've
Shuck.
not been good. Our best Mariner is Cal Raleigh.
Hey,
And he's good because he hits home runs occasionally.
That's a
But
good
he's
point.
the traditional, I give up.
Hannah
batting
reminded me
average
that
to
she's
hit
not
home
deaf and I
runs.
don't need to yell at her.
It always helps.
There are no Mariners in the top 100.
That's depressing.
Who's hitting over 300? Can you give me a name? Dang it. She can't give me a name. She's too strong of a Mariners
wait a
fan.
minute. There is a technical Mariner in the top 100.
I don't want to hear this. They're not a Mariner anymore, are they?
And then also there's a Mariner at 60.
Ty France?
That would be
Julio
the worst.
Rodriguez is ranked 60th in batting average.
Oh, you're just talking about that. Okay.
Ty France has been playing really well
Ty France would be the
after escaping T-Mobile.
third Mariner adjacent guy ranked in batting average.
I'm going to go Freddie Freeman as my next official guess.
Ty France was DFA'd.
That's a terrible guess. Freddie Freeman is batting 284. So you're 2 for 4 now. Hit me with some more.
Manuel Margot.
Who?
Dude, I don't know any of these people.
Manuel Margot?
Yeah.
I can't find that person on the list, so you're wrong.
Where's Ellie De La Cruz? Is he on that list? I just know. I'm just
I-
saying the name that I keep seeing.
Yeah, I assume
He's
because
45th.
I was
Okay.
going to assume since he's younger He's much more of the I don't care about average and I just hit nukes guys.
Ellie is batting
clear,
265.
I was just asking because it's a name I hear a lot. So
Because he's someone I would much
list.
because I would much rather have him than Julio. Oh, Bobby Witt. Speaking of number one guy I would rather have than Julio.
Hater.
Bobby Witt, my number one dude. Bobby Witt.
Absolutely shocked you didn't start there.
Right?
Bobby Witt is number 1 in the majors with
Junior.
a 347 batting average.
B-Dub-J.
Bobby Witt is his father.
Bobby Witt Jr.
3 more guesses, Daniel. How many can you get?
Probably 0.
Okay. Well, I know who most of these guys are.
Really?
Half.
Dude, I don't know Jack. Xander Bogaerts.
No, he's on my fantasy team, so I can tell you for certain he is not batting over.
Dude, good call. I'm gonna go look up my fantasy team.
No, don't do,
because
you can't do that. That's
I'm
cheating.
You
winning.
can't look things up.
You got 2 more guesses.
I'm not looking things up. I'm looking at my fantasy team. I feel like since I'm in first place, I'm allowed to do that.
Luke Rayleigh was scratched from today's Mariners game due to flu-like symptoms, for the record.
Is he barfing on people? What's going on?
Flu-like symptoms.
Dude, my fantasy team is crashing as fast as
2
Josh
more guesses.
Rojas'
Hey,
season.
Daniel, we have a fantasy draft at 6 o'clock.
What?
You gotta hustle. Pick 2 more guys.
I did not know that.
Daniel
didn't?
was not ready.
I forgot.
Forgot normal talk.
I'm gonna say
It's fine.
I'm gonna say
Think about
Salva-
guys you hate.
Guys I hate?
Yeah.
Baseball guys you hate.
I don't know how many people I hate anymore.
Astros.
Jose Altuve?
Altuve just below at 299, so that's wrong, but a good guess.
I hate that guy.
Give me 1 more Astro.
Alex Bregman?
Alex Bregman, not near the top.
Yordan Alvarez?
Well, you ran out of guesses, so sorry, you only got 2. You are in the Husky zone.
That's gross.
I'm going to give you the top 8, though. Number 1, Bobby Witt, 347. Number 2, Aaron Judge, 333. Number 3, the guy who the Mariners should have gotten, Vlad Guerrero Jr. at 320.
Oh.
Number 4, the much-hated Yordan Alvarez at 306.
Jordan is really good.
Number 5,
Hate that
Marcel
guy.
Ozuna, 305.
That guy's a terrible human.
Number 6, some guy named S. Kwan at 304.
Wait, what?
S. Kwan,
Who? What team does he play for?
Guardians. Steven?
Oh, Stephen Kwan, yes.
Okay.
Justin.
Yeah.
Justin Domashevitz.
Yeah.
Justin,
Yeah.
if you would have done 0.1% more research,
Yeah.
you would have been able to absolutely embarrass me with that one.
Okay.
You know why?
Because you love Stephen Kwan.
Because he's on your fantasy team?
Nope. Oregon State Beaver.
Oh, Justin. That is embarrassing for you.
No, I'm
that
good.
You didn't catch
Number
that.
7, the other guy you said who plays for the Padres, Arias.
Luis Ariz.
Yeah, he's 303. And then Diaz from Houston. Yeah, what's it?
Yanier Diaz?
Is batting 302. Those are the only 8 guys, 8 qualifying players who are batting 300 in Major League Baseball. So,
Are we going to see a significant rule change to improve batting average?
They already tried.
Well,
They don't know what to do.
I agree with you. Do you think they'll keep trying?
I assume so. They said that they maybe want to look into having starting pitchers throw at least 6 innings.
Yeah,
and they're
do you
like,
think that
oh,
will
we
help?
need to make that because they need to be stars.
we should talk
No.
about
Do
that
you think
actually.
that
Not
would,
today, but
do you
next
think that
week.
would help batting average though, Daniel? Because I still think you just need to move the mound back.
Andrew King. I agree. My wife just texted me, please wrap it up.
Hey, Courtney.
I need to go home.
Yeah, we have a fantasy draft at 6. So.
Yeah, you need to be home by 6.
I need to be in cell service by 6.
Or you have to stay here till
Justin,
after the draft.
the game of baseball
Yeah.
is in dire straits.
Is it? I thought it was getting better.
No. Because they made all these shift rules.
Yeah.
And it worked for like half a
And
season.
the pitch clock and
The pitch clock has helped shorten the games,
Yeah.
which is the point of that. Like,
Yeah.
I do think the pitch clock has helped make the games quicker and snappier, but they have to fix the batting.
You know what? Everybody keeps saying, oh, hitters just aren't good enough to keep up with these new pitchers. I have 2 points on this. One, the pitchers aren't actually throwing that much harder. They're throwing harder, but not as much as everybody says they are.
Oh?
The radar detector looked farther down the pitch than it does now.
That was
That's
a soccer term.
Sorry. How do I put this? The detector is reading right out of the pitcher's hand right now.
Yeah.
That is at least a mile-an-hour difference. That alone.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the batting average.
No, but it changes what everybody's saying of, oh, pitchers are just throwing that much harder now. No, they're not. They're throwing a little harder now. But you know what really changed, Andrew?
What?
This is my honest opinion.
Okay.
The change went to home runs are more valuable, and it doesn't matter if you strike out. So batters started only swinging for home runs. That is the major difference. It's not the pitchers throwing harder. I will argue, I will take Jeff Passan to the freaking wall. It is not the pitchers are that much better.
I think he would win.
I don't think so. Screw you, Jeff.
I'm reasonably certain he would win.
Technology, maybe because he's a better arguer than I am.
He's far better arguer.
Shut up,
than
Andrew.
you.
But he's wrong. This is the problem. He is a better arguer, but he was wrong. The pitching is not that much better. It is the training of everybody looking at walks and home runs over strikeouts. That is the problem. Everybody has said home runs are that much more valuable. So what is the batter learned to do? They've learned to only swing for the freaking fences. It is the training of the batter that is the issue. If people were trained to hit for average, guess what? That would solve the problem. Not them swinging for the fence and not pitchers throwing as hard as they freaking could.
I thought that the spin rate was a bigger difference than the actual
Yeah, but
velocity.
when was the last time somebody brought that up?
Like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Daniel Gross says, Rampage Daniel yells. It's fine. It's true.
Thank you for listening to the scrimmage. My wife just sent me a beautiful GIF.
About how much she loves you?
Yeah, I doubt it. I'm going to show it to the screen right now.
Well, I think that's going to do it for our show today. I really do.
That might be actually just a picture of Courtney looking at you right now.
So I'm going to say for my producer, Daniel, I'm better than Jeff Passan Hargrove.
Co-host, possibly.
Not as a reporter, just as a why has the game gotten worse?
Just as an analyst. He
Dude,
thinks he's a better analyst.
If I could just
for
sit
my
down and have...
co-host, analyst, Daniel, I'm better than Jeff Passan Hargrove.
And for my co-host, Justin, who has the co-host, Daniel, who wants to sit down and just have a cup of coffee with Jeff Passan, Justin Tomaszewicz.
And for our trusty producer, Andrew, I don't know why these audio sounds are auto-playing gross.
You've been listening to the scrimmage.
Things are happening.
A better show than what Jeff Passan would do.
Wow.
Dude, you better tag
As
Jeff
producer,
Passan as this.
As producer.
And just tell him to listen to the last 5 minutes. Don't tell him to listen to anything else.
No one thinks that, just to be fair.
I need to call him.
To be clear, no one thinks that. Thank you for listening to the scrimmage.
Bye, Jeff.
I want to talk to Jeff. His book is the best.
Oh, the wet blanket?